The Inside Edge Network is brought to you by Fanatics. Fanatics isn't just our name, it's who we are. Loyal, passionate fans, dedicated to our favorite teams and athletes to the sports we love. That's why we're honored to be able to offer fans the world's largest collection of official sports apparel and sports jerseys from all the leagues, teams, and players you love. We're talking NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, National Hockey League, the NCAA. I'm a wrestling guy as well. We got WWE apparel available too. It allows us to serve fans of football, baseball, hockey, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, golf, and everything else that gets your heart pumping. Go to fanatics.com by using the QR code on your screen right now to celebrate your teams. It's right there in the corner of your screen. Get your official gear. Level up with us at fanatics.com.
Mosser Moments Photography is a husband and wife wedding photography team based in Cleveland, owned and operated by Ryan and Hallie Mosser. For the past 10 years, they've captured more than 100 weddings across Northeast Ohio and beyond, always working together as a true two-person team. Their style centers on authentic, emotional storytelling, documenting the real moments between two people in love and creating images that feel natural, comfortable, and true to the couple. Rooted in Northern Ohio, but inspired by their travels, Ryan and Hallie bring a warm, personal approach to every wedding day. Their work blends experience, consistency, and a genuine passion for helping couples relive their best day through timeless photography. Learn more at MosserMomentsPhotography.com.
Welcome to the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rob Rozycki. We got Anthony Alford. No Eli Moon today. He is actually studying with the Shaolin monks of Northern Manchuria. He should be back next week after much spiritual and physical reflection. But yes, we wish him a happy Easter along with all of you out there in internet land. How are we doing, Double A?
Man, it's been happy Easter to you and everyone watching. It's been a weekend for good things, obviously. Knowing what this day means and everything, and so it's been a cool day to experience that, and ready to do the show. I'm pretty excited. I know we didn't have a ton of shows this weekend just because of the weekend, but we're ready to go. Even though the weather says otherwise.
Yeah, and speaking of, and I say this as a person who was raised Catholic, speaking of long, arduous things, much like Easter Mass, the Guardians had their own Book of Job happening at Progressive Field today. There was a doubleheader. The best way, I think I used the word slog in our opening meeting here. They split a doubleheader against the Chicago Cubs. We'll just get right into it here. The first game was just a whole lot of nothing. 3 combined hits, 1-0 Chicago. And then in the second end of it, it looked like it was going to be more of the same. Through about 5 innings, just a whole lot of nothing happening. That's when Chicago actually grabbed 2 runs in the top. Guardians threw 3 up there, took the lead briefly. Chicago then retook the lead, and it ended up being something where it was worth watching. Chase DeLauder had a big night. C.J. Kapis had a big day. Guardians end up splitting a doubleheader, and thank God for the last 45 minutes of baseball. Otherwise, we would be just talking about a whole lot of nothing instead of a pretty good start for the Cleveland Guardians.
So, can I share with the audience kind of the experience that we went through during the second game?
Yeah, because it makes you look like an idiot. I look reasonably intelligent in the situation.
So, be mindful that at this point, we're talking about the 6th inning. We're doing nothing, just pure garbage. We haven't really had a hit really at all in 4.5 hours of real time. And I texted to Rob.
Like 18 straight innings of no scoring. It was getting close.
And I texted Rob, and I'm like, dude, and this is when the Cubs made it 3-0. I'm like, dude, this game is. I'm ready to take whenever. We could have taken this show at 6 o'clock. We damn near
went on the air at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, we could have taped this show. And I'm like, dude, I'm ready to take whenever this game is over. And then we had a hit. Rob texted me signs of life, and then in a span of 10 minutes, not only are we back in it, like it was 3-2, and then we tied it, and it turned into a game.
It was they woke up. I mean, Parker Messick, the starter, got out of a pretty big jam in the fifth inning. A couple of runners on, no outs. That kind of propelled the Guardians, I think, into something a little bit more. It was an RBI single by C.J. Capis, Chase DeLauder. Again, good day from him. He had a sac fly to drive in another run. And then Gabriel Arias had an RBI single. And then they broke it open again, really. They fell back behind. And when we thought it was done again, the Guardians come back, down, 4-3. It was C.J. Capis again with a homer to right. Gabriel Arias with an RBI single. Austin Hedges having a pretty good start to the season, at the plate. He had an RBI in his own right. So, yeah, that was all she wrote. Hunter Gaddis looked a little, Cade Smith looked a little iffy in the ninth inning. And then, 6-5 Guardians win, and they split a doubleheader. So
Can we briefly talk about Austin Hedges having an offensive standout performance really to come out of this season? Like that's the one I'm watching this. I'm like, there's been a couple games now where Austin Hedges in critical moments offensively has come through. I'm like, this is amazing. This is amazing.
Well, I believe it's been 2 games. So we're talking about where we've had a very limited sample size to begin with. This one's even a more limited version of that. But all things considered, he's hitting 500. I think he's slugging 750. He had a double hit against the Los Angeles. I know that was the big hit he had then. Yeah, just somebody who we kind of thought was an afterthought. And I'm sure he'll go back to normal. I'm sure it'll be, what we've kind of grown used to with Austin Hedges. But right now, he is the best offensive catcher the Guardians have. And I wonder how long Bo Naylor has until all of a sudden we start talking about a little bit more of a platoon situation. But yeah, so far so good. I mean, what we're talking, a couple games over 500 right now. We are in first place, whatever that means, at 6-4 through 10 games into the season. The one thing though, the big observation that comes with me in this whole first 10 games, we thrive in these 2-run games, these close games. And I don't know if we're going to have a good enough offense that we're ever going to be able to have more than a night or two of, hey, all right, we're up 6-0, we're just in cruise control. Hey, this is just going to be normal. Like, every win the Guardians have had so far this year has been a pretty dramatic experience. And again, we're not even, 10% into the season yet. So, yeah, I can't believe we still have 152 more of these, but yeah, here we are. 6-4, first place. Cool.
Well, this is the one time where I'll say, just be thankful that the hardest part of the schedule, we are 6-4. And I get it. I want those games. I've been begging for these type of games that you've been describing for years. A comfortable 6-0, 7-1, 5-1 ball games. I've been begging for those. Honestly, with this stretch, where like all 3 teams you faced are either, division contender or, favorites. I mean, Milwaukee may have something to say about the NL Central, or World Series contenders, legit. And you won those games. So, and I'll say this too. Look at how our pitching, and let's go back to the Dodgers series for a hot second. Look at how well our pitching did against the Dodgers, and then do a side-by-side of how the Dodgers offense have looked this weekend against the Nationals. You see the difference in our quality of pitching versus a team like the Washington Nationals.
Well, if the first 10 games have developed any sort of narrative or personality with this team, it's that the offense is going to be doing everything they can to stay level with the pitching staff. Much like with the Browns. Like, hey, we got an all-world defense. Can the offense play well enough for it to be effective? And that's what the Guardians are going to be. Can the offense, get those 4 to 5 runs over a game to give the pitching staff a realistic chance. Because you're right. I mean, I don't know if we have the best rotation in baseball. I don't know if we have the best bullpen in baseball. But I'm pretty sure we have the best pitching staff in general in baseball. And that's going to be a very handy thing to experience the season with. Now, again, I think we're just going to be sitting here frustrated in a lot of cases that the offense, much like the first game of the doubleheader, one hit. That was all. Like we talked about the Tom Withers tweet. The stat that first game had 3 hits between the Cubs and the Guardians. Again, the weather was horrible. It was low 40s. You had a little drizzle in the air. It was windy. It was a slog. But again, it was just 3 hits between the two teams. And arguably, the Guardians would have got no hit if C.J. Kafis didn't have that looper out into the outfield that got misplayed. So that could have been an out, but it turned into a double. So, yeah, we're going to have to deal with some of those games still. The offense isn't 100% fixed, although C.J. Chase DeLauder looks like he is the real deal. Looks like he's had another few days of, playing Major League games and contributing. Again, RBI today. But, that isn't the whole thing yet. We're looking at guys like Kyle Manzardo. We're looking at, Gabriel Arias has had a pretty good start to the season. But Bo Naylor has not. We're having some black holes now happening at like 5, 6, and 7 in the lineup, and that's just kind of crippling the offense. If we can get one bat in there, maybe great. But so far, the first 10 days, the personality of this team seems like the personality of last year's team.
But you know what, though? I think back to Chase DeLauder, and I think back to the home opener. I think back to Friday. At least here, you have a bat. You got somebody in check. And again, way early. He could fall flat on his face come May and get back to normal. Remember, Stephen Kwan, when he started things, I think the first 2 months of the season, he was batting .400 and then stabilized afterwards. So things could definitely come back down to earth. But I like the fact that, like, Chase DeLauder, he is delivering in critical moments of games when they are tight. Now, again, I know game 1 today, nobody was clicking whatsoever, and that is a concern, especially with colder weather. I get that. But you do have younger guys, starting with Chase. And Stephen Kwan, he told Stephen Vogt, and Hammy mentioned this on the radio broadcast, in the past, Stephen Kwan had to press a little bit at that leadoff spot because you was uncertain what was going to happen at the 2-hole, at the 2 spot. Now it almost seems like when he has an at-bat, he's ahead of the game because in games it was Chase as the number 2 in the lineup, that's a bat that's going to deliver in most cases, and then that leads right into Jose Ramirez. Like, if Chase can keep delivering that way, then you're going to see improvement with Stephen Kwan. He doesn't have to press as much to lead off the game. And those are the little things that you're looking for offensively. And hopefully we get something like that, particularly what you saw on Friday and in game 2 this afternoon.
Yeah, for what it's worth, DeLauder did bat 5th in game 2 against the lefty. So I wonder how long that's going to stay kind of a matchup dependent thing because, depending on the confidence in guys like Angel and Gabriel Arias and whoever else would be in that 2-hole, maybe Austin Hedges for all we know. And the confidence they're gaining in DeLauder, it seems like by the day, this could be a situation. 10 years ago when we were doing our student show, we saw the kind of the ascension of Jose Ramirez turning into, from a day off player to a platoon player to the everyday third baseman to, this bastard's batting third for the next 10 years. So we're kind of in the middle with that with DeLauder. We'll see if it pans out. You mentioned this could go away just as quick as it started. It wasn't just, a couple years ago. You look at the splits on David Fry. That all-star year, he was worthy of being an all-star. And then the break happened, and it was basically a second, just a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of situation. Like, it happens all the time in baseball where you do have these folk heroes kind of rise and fall equally as quick. Ask anybody who was around in the 70s and watched Mark Fidrich play for Detroit. So, yeah, we can tap the brakes on that a little bit. But at the same time, he is playing well. There's no reason right now for us to be all that, hesitant with him. So, yeah, I mean, he should be in the 2 spot. He should be with that lineup. But we'll see if anybody 4, 5, and 6 can do anything. That seems to be the problem right now. And I don't know if it's going to be how long these guys of a leash are going to have, because, one thing that they haven't had in years past, where you might have had to weather with, Arias hitting 150 and being basically the full-time shortstop. They have options. Juan Brito is in the minor leagues. Travis Bazzana is in the minor leagues. If Kyle Manzardo keeps sputtering as he has been, the first 10 games of the year, Rhys Hoskins is on the bench right now and can play first base full time. So there are other ways to go here, and I wonder how long the Guardians, who, let's face it, are notoriously patient. I wonder if that same amount of patience is going to last this season. So, that's going to, I think, where the offense is at, and it's going to be interesting to see how quick they are going to pull that trigger.
And to your point about the offense, because by Guardian standards, the pitching staff, this is not a pitching staff that you would put up among elite pitching staffs in Guardians, Cleveland Indians.
No, there's no Paul Skeens. I mean, even contemporaries right now, there's no big Paul Skeens guy. There's no, Terry Skubal. There's no horse on this staff. The closest thing is what, Gavin Williams? But yeah, you're right. There's no superstars on this pitching staff right now.
Right, and even Gavin Williams, I mean, he got rocked in the inning against Seattle, his first start, and then he handled business against the Dodgers.
Yeah,
so you just wonder about those things. All I want, my expectation. I haven't been to a Guardians game yet. I mean, you only had 3 choices here so far. My goal, personally, this is very selfish of me, Rob. I want the batting averages for the Guardians to be respectable enough to where on the scoreboard, they put the batting averages back on the scoreboard instead of the OPS numbers.
I mean, that's actually a pretty good goal. Let's take a look at the lineup today. Let's see. Quan batting 216, Angel 143, Ramirez 154, David Fry 333. He's actually had a better start than maybe your eyes might tell you. CJ Cafis is 214 with a couple of hits today. Belauder, obviously, he's over 300. Hoskins 250. Arias under 200. Hedgie, 500. And Rocchio at 185. I mean, it's not great, but again, through 10 games, it's better than it was last season. So, yeah, hopefully, guys like Steven Kwan, who are off to a bit of a slow start, bringing up Manzardo again, he's still he's probably under 100 still at this rate. I know he had a walk in game 1. But, yeah, they need to get the batting average up. They need to be able to score 5 to 6 runs a game. If this team can score 5 to 6 runs most every night, we are, with the stat that we're talking about a 95 win team. That's where this team is at. Now, again, bring it back to my original point, the personality, the character of this team is how it was last year. It was, can they do that? Can the offense be worthy of the pitching staff they are playing with? And I don't know. So far, 6 out of 10 times they have been. So if we can play 6 out of 10 for the rest of the season, okay, we're in the playoffs.
Now, again, to this point, we can't be like, we handle business against Seattle and the Dodgers and the Cubs. Let's just chill because Kansas City is coming to town. And Kansas City, they're one of those teams that is right there, expected to be in that mix, at least early on in the AL Central. And I know it's laughable to look at the standings on April. It's very laughable to look at the standings on April 5th. But Kansas City, they're 4-5 right now. So early on, if you want to establish a little bit of separation in the AL Central, this series coming up against KC is the time to do it.
Yeah, they're pains in the ass. That's just how Kansas City's always been for us, regardless of their record or really where they have been at in the standings. What I believe is Michael Waka going on the hill for, Michael Waka, Tanner Bybee is going to be tomorrow's matchup, 6:10. Yeah, I mean, it's the Royals, but it's still another, top 10% pitcher they're going to be facing. They have been just getting reamed. I think it's, 4 Japanese imports in the last 6 games. It's been, cutter and split finger fastball city. And it's not really going to keep lightening up right now. So, yeah, I mean, just try to stay above 500. Just try to stay around it. Hopefully you'll be able to get a couple of legs in the division, a couple of, games in the division to play with before sooner than later. But so far, so good for the Guardians. Everybody's healthy-ish right now, as healthy as you're going to be. So, yeah, we got that going. The one thing that's really not, what's up?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, the one thing that's really not going great for the Guardians, I don't know if you have been looking at the challenge numbers for the Cleveland Guardians. Of course, I'm talking about the ABS system, the automatic balls and strikes system that Major League Baseball has adopted now. Long story short, you get 2 wrong challenges a game. If you screw up twice, you've lost your privileges. And the Guardians are getting pretty good at losing privileges. Now, in all fairness, I don't have the numbers included with today's stuff. Or let's see if it did update. No, it has not. As of yesterday, the Guardians have been at roughly 15.5% on the season for converted challenge rates. Again, I think they hit 3 out of 4 tonight, at least in the second game, so it's going to get better. But so far, this is something the Guardians have had some issues with.
Yeah, and the thing I brought up with you during our pre-show, I want to bring it full circle here. We're starting to see strategy as far as the ABS. My complaint, I think, don't quote me, I think it was Stephen Kwan who did this the other day during the opener. Why are we challenging pitches on a 1-1 count? Like early in the game. Like, it almost feels to me like you're wasting a challenge if you're not challenging a strike 3 call either way, or that kind of situation, a full count deal. Like, you're wasting a challenge. I'm seeing a few of those. I'm seeing a few wasted challenges where, okay, if you win, it's only a 1-1 count or a 2-1 count, as opposed to a strike 3 or a ball 4 situation. I think we, as the players are learning, as the pitchers are learning, and the catchers are learning, I think we got to be a little bit more intentional about the in-game situational use of the ABS system.
Well, it's going to be forever a question. It's going to be a ratio. What are you risking or gaining with, what's the gain out of the challenge? Compared with, the situation of the game. If you're sitting in there, it's a big, it's the second pitch in the 9th inning, or the third pitch. It's 2-0, and it's the difference between going, up 3-0 or 2-1. Okay, I can see that challenge. Or if it's a borderline pitch. Now, conversely, in the first inning, if it is the second pitch of the game and it's clearly a foot outside, then it's that bad. It's not a borderline pitch. These guys are just going to have to train themselves to do something instinctual out of that. But I think the issue with it, a couple of them. We all love analytics. We all love tendencies. We all love try to predict what's going to happen based on what has happened before. And there is no what's happened before. There is no book on this yet. We are writing the book. This is Mozart not studying the classics because he's coming up with them.
Yeah.
We're trying to invent this on the fly. And it's going to be some trial and error. It's going to be some stuttering and stopping. It's going to be guys realizing you can't do it out of anger. You can't do it out of frustration. I think there was one that happened. I think Rozycki had one that he was just pissed off and just, out of reaction. He lucked out that it was like a quarter-inch outside. But you can't be doing stuff like that. It's got to be a little bit more of a calculated thing. And I also think some of the reasons why the Guardians, I don't know about other teams, are having issues with this. The Guardians are a very analytically based organization. They love their information. And this is baseball anyway. You get your lineup from the GM. You get your, the pitches come in from the dugout when Bo Naylor or Hedgie or whoever's calling the game. The base coaches are telling you what to do in the box and on the bases. This is the one thing. You're not allowed to look at the dugout. You're not allowed to get any sort of advice. And even if you were, you got a second or two. You got 2 seconds. So it's the one thing that these players have to decide on their own, using their eyes, their ears, their gut, their heart, their mind, their body, their soul. And it's going to take a little bit of time, I think, for them to get used to that. And, we'll see. I'm sure they'll hone it in throughout the year. Quite honestly, I'll be shocked if the Guardians remain at, 15%, 12%, whatever they're at. I can see that going up, but, yeah, at this rate right now, they're not really helping themselves out. There's been a lot of questionable challenges, time, and, pitches themselves.
You bring up a good point, though, about emotion. I think that's huge. I think that's across the board, across baseball, and it's a conversation I think we're going to be revisiting come the postseason.
Well, Chris Sale had a deal with that. He was talking about the fact that he will never challenge a pitch. And he sounded, kind of naive at first, but I bought what he said. Because I'm a starting pitcher in the major leagues. Every pitch I've ever thrown, I think is a strike. So if you let me challenge that, and I only have a finite amount of challenges, we're going to have some problems. So, yeah, I don't trust myself to make that call. So, yeah, I think we're going to find out what players do. We're going to find out what players will learn that ability. But right now, we're all kind of learned by doing.
You know what this kind of reminds me of? For anybody who's played street ball, way back when, and that special someone who calls foul on every single play.
Yeah.
Every play. Foul, foul, foul. Like you're driving to the basket, foul, foul. What you brought up about the emotion, what you brought up about with Chris Sale, in a weird way, it actually excites me about how this is going to play out on top of the other rule changes that baseball has put in over the last few years.
Yeah, and watching this play out and adding this tech and this new wrinkle to it, this might be the biggest rule change that we've seen in our lifetimes, and maybe since the DH was put in. We're seeing now umpires being held accountable in a way that we've never seen. Now, hopefully, I hope, in maybe the next 2 to 3 years, once this kind of becomes normal, we don't see this as something to humiliate the umpires and shame them. I hope that this will become a tool, a help for them, and we won't look down on an umpire for the problem is right now the umpires that we're looking down on, we have been looking down on for a generation. Hopefully, this will either make them straighten up or fly out of there. But I think hopefully in a few years we will see this as more of as a helper than maybe as you suck, you need. The goalie mask. The first time, I think it was Jacques Plante, the old goalie for the Canadians back in the 30s. He wore the goalie mask. Everybody thought he was a pussy. Everybody thought, you need help. Oh, you want to protect, you get the moneymaker, whatever. And then just over time, it became, no, he's not a pussy. He's intelligent. And maybe we'll see this, kind of the way we look at things with the ABS migrate, but right now, yeah, I mean, it's hilarious to watch guys like C.B. Buckner get their asses whooped. I think it was 2 or 3 straight pitches he had that was wrong. There's a few other guys that are just getting complete, and that's the other thing too. It varies from umpire to umpire. We're learning with some of these guys, you can challenge at damn near, you can challenge a 2-0 pitch in the middle of the second inning because you're probably going to be right.
Yeah, if it's way out of the strike zone, like it's clear and obvious.
So, it's a little different. So,
the name is slipping.
The umpires is going to help the hitters, and I think this is going to, create a little bit more. And it's not just a blanket 100%. You can do this 1,000 times. There is some strategy to it, and if you do fuck it up enough, you are to the mercy of that umpire that was screwing up calls. So there is still the human element in there.
Forgive me for forgetting who this is. Who was the ump that always screwed up calls?
Angel Hernandez?
Yeah. They should have named us after him.
I think that would have been a little... honestly, if they have to go full robo-umps, I don't mind coming up with an anagram that kind of fills on hell out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what this goes to, though. And these umpires that are getting humiliated right now in front of 20 or 30,000 people, or in the case of the Guardians game today, 6,000 people, or in the game 2, 600 people.
600, yeah.
Yeah, the umpires that are getting humiliated right now, they're the ones that are blowing calls. And hopefully this will be an aid to kind of either, time to retire or you're going to get this right. And, yeah, this is going to do nothing but help baseball. And, we all thought the pitch clock was revolutionary, and it was. We all thought the ghost runner, all of these things that they have been doing over the last, 10 years or so, going all the way back to the DH. And interleague play and all this stuff. This is probably going to be the biggest impactful thing in baseball that we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. And again, like you're going to see big games kind of decided by this. And my last point on this, I think that this is going to be a little bit of an odd analogy, but it's the only thing I can think of. Do you remember when American Idol first started? And American Idol in the promos used to make a huge deal about like the bad singing auditions.
Yeah, William Hung. Yeah.
Yeah, like she bang. Like,
yeah, he got a couple album deals out of that. Yeah,
he did. He scored. I mean, he should have been around a little bit pre-social media. Like he would have really blow up with social media. But early on in American Idol, the promotion was about all the bad singers that were auditioning and how
they would have an episode or two of like they'd have the good ones auditions, and then they'd have like 2 episodes of like, no, these people shouldn't be on TV, but we're going to put them there anyway.
Right. And then if you notice, years upon years later, the promos for American Idol is now like inspiring artists and stuff, like a great journey and stuff like that. I think the ABS is going to go from that opening week of umps getting embarrassed in Cincinnati and we're laughing about it and stuff like that to we're going to start rewarding umps for doing their jobs correctly and locking in and being better at their jobs. And we're going to see less and less challenges be successful or even be challenged because those umps are going to be locked in because the spotlight's on them. And now you have an actual, it's kind of like commission. Now you have an actual tracker showing the correct calls, what are confirmed, things like that. I think that's going to be how we view ABS.
I think the word we're looking for, and this is something we have been praying that officials in every sport have been, we've been hoping, that they were going to experience accountability. That's what this is. I mean, now I don't know if this will go into, playoff assignments, therefore more money, if it's going to go into bonuses or anything like that. But right now, this is good old-fashioned public shaming. We can put you right up, like, I know, at least as of yesterday, until this gets updated, C.B. Buckner had 9 calls challenged, and 7 of them were overturned. I can just, boom, here you go. That's been his season so far. And we can compare it to other guys who, yeah, they've had 1 or 2 challenges all season, and they've both been bullshit. So, yeah, we can do that as fans. We can do that, And what's helped out is social media and be able to track this stuff a lot easier. There's, the Twitter handle, I'll just give a free shout out, is Umpire Audit. they're the ones that give the report cards every game and kind of show what's going on and what they missed and who they missed it for, and kind of gives a profile on all these guys. And if we think that this is going to be the end of technology with officiating in Major League Baseball, I think we're being naive. They're already trying to figure out ways to track the bat on a checked swing. Did you go around? Did you not? Which is also one of those famously unreliable judgment calls out there in baseball. So, we're going to be seeing more and more of this stuff, and, it's going to be different. It's going to suck a little bit for the traditional guys who are used to, the human element being in there, and Earl Weaver screaming at an umpire, or Tommy Lasorda throwing a chair, or, Billy Martin, having another one, whatever. But yeah, this is just the way it's going to have to go, because as much money is being spent on tickets, on apparel with Fanatics, and on gambling too, that's going to be, that's a lot of stuff. We need to get this stuff right. So yeah, I'm all for it.
And also, quick plug, make sure you go to that QR code, Fanatics Inside Us Network sponsor right there. you can get the hookups. It's mirrored.
That's what I'm doing.
No.
There we go.
I actually think you pointed in the correct direction before. It's mirrored. I think you got.
I don't know what's happening here. Apparently, so yeah, this is my left shoulder. So it is what it is. But yeah, this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I feel like we should spend a few minutes here, Double A. With no Eli Moon today, he is actually running with the Bulls in Pamplona, Spain. He'll be back next week.
We think?
We hope. Yeah, if he doesn't get a bullhorn shoved up his ass. But yeah, he will be back next week, and hopefully he won't be in a sling. But yeah, it feels like we're 6 days away from the end of the regular season, and the end of FanDuel Network. More on that later. But the Cavaliers, they're in the final stretch here. They got their final four. Memphis coming up in a couple games against Atlanta, and then the Washington Wizards and their 83-point defense here. That will round out the season. It's good that we got 4 tomato can. Well, the Hawks really aren't a tomato can anymore. They're pretty good. But we got a couple of games against a couple of tomato cans. We need one more win or somebody else to lose one more game to get a top 4 seed. The Cavaliers are basically locked in right now. We had 4 guys miss tonight. Basically, the entire starting front court here between Mobley, Allen, Merrill, and Tyson too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the Cavaliers are trying to round into shape right now. They're trying to get into playoff form. How confident are we that this team that is probably going to be hosting a playoff series to start out the whole thing? How confident are we that this team is learned from their mistakes of last year and is ready to compete deep into the NBA playoffs this season, where they really haven't done that for the last 2 years?
I don't know if you realize how loaded of a question that is. I want to say they've learned. The fan in me is going to say and talk my way into saying they have learned from their mistakes. I don't trust them defensively. So that part I don't
trust
know.
The consistency defense. Like they show up on these days and they act like on some, like the Laker game was like, we're here. We're just going to, we're here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the defense, that's the part where I'm a little iffy. If they can step up, they have the roster and the capabilities to do it. Honestly, it's going to come down, Rob, to the health of Jared Allen. He's fighting through things right now. That's going to have to be maintained, little maintenance throughout the rest of the season. It's going to come down to Jared Allen and also Evan Mobley. Their health. I don't think right now. I mean, they beat Indiana. Indiana's one of the tanking teams. Sorry, Tyrese Halliburton, come back next year. We'll have.
It's not their fault. They're tanking, and it's not their fault.
It's not their fault.
Halliburton got hurt, and then every one of their starters got hurt to start the season.
Right.
There's just sometimes there's nothing you can do.
And that's why the solution I'm going to propose later in the show is not going to be a shot against the Pacers, but more on that later. they're trying to run like a 4-guard lineup, the Cavaliers, kind of because they have to. If you mention all those front court guys are missing. The problem, though, when you're facing bigger teams, you just don't have enough firepower in the paint to defend well. And then our perimeter defenders, they're not flexible enough to be aggressive on defense when you don't have front court help. And that's why, to me, the health and status of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, to me, is the difference between this playoff run ending in round 2 and potentially going to the finals.
Well, the other guy I'll throw into that, too, because you did mention with Evan Mobley the fact that they're going to have to do some maintenance on him. Thomas Bryant did get the start tonight. Again, against the Pacers. Again, I understand it is the competition we're talking about, but he had a double-double. He's going to be the one that is going to have to bail out some of that water with Jared Allen possibly missing some minutes, maybe even games. We don't know. But he's going to have to hold down the fort long enough, as a physical presence underneath the hoop. As somebody, too, who does have a little bit of a three-point shot and has played in the NBA Finals just a year ago. I kind of put him with Max Strus as some of these battle-hardened guys that should be able to help this team out. But, yeah, you're right. This team is completely different. And I didn't think that I was ever going to be worried more about Allen than Mobley. But this team is completely different when you have a functional Jared Allen underneath the hoop. And you have James Harden, who's trying to get 15 assists a night with him. Donovan Mitchell's moving everything around. This team moves a lot better when you have a dominant big man. And right now, Jared Allen is the best we have. And, yeah, he has to be healthy. He has to be a presence. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that in 28 minutes a game instead of 34 or 35. But, yeah, it's weird that third season in a row we're just worried about health. We're worried about health. So
yeah, and I want to give a little bit of an update on some of the things that happened tonight due to health. And Kenny Atkinson, he spoke after the game. So Max Strus, he left during the game with an injury, and Donovan Mitchell left with like less than 2 minutes to go in the game. It looked like Donovan Mitchell twisted his ankle. Kenny Atkinson said that Mitchell was fine. It looked like
he has no other choice.
Yeah, he said he was fine. And Max Strus underwent an X-ray, and it came back negative. So again, you're just holding up. I have to credit someone on Twitter underneath said this. I think you'll get a laugh out of this. Sadly, these injuries are insane. This is Jack Quinn. These injuries are insane. Do the Cleveland Cavaliers practice with the San Francisco 49ers?
I mean, we know where their practice facility is at in Independence. Is there a power transformer anywhere around that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got to, dude, at this, I mean, like, and I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm not trying to accuse anybody of doing a bad job, but I'm at the rate right now where I'm just trying to figure out, like, is this even a trainer's problem? Like, what the hell? Like, we seem to be the only team that consistently has a problem holding together for an entire 82-game season. This happens to other teams. It doesn't happen 4 years in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my only request, the team has to be transparent. If somebody's like hurt, don't say like a player is day to day and they're hurt during the playoffs and like, oh, it's day to day, they'll be fine, and then they're never the same again. Like, I'm throwing blame. I'm unfairly last season. I'm throwing major shade at Darius Garland because the team said he was day to day. We don't really have to worry about the toe. He injured it during Game 3 in the first round against Miami. We beat him in 5, destroyed him in 5, so he had a week off. And then all of a sudden the Indiana series comes around, Rob, and he's not ready to go. I'm looking at Darius Garland like, wait a minute. The team said you were day-to-day, and you had 2 weeks off, basically. You should be ready to go. And it turned out, they were very, very conservative with their timeline. Like, the team has to be transparent with what's going on with these
I
players.
almost made that joke when you said Donovan was going to be fine, like just because it's okay. I mean, if he's day to day, I mean, aren't we all?
Yeah.
So, yeah, at that rate, yeah, I mean, the team has. I understand they want to, they're playing a game of poker and they want to keep their cards on the table, but they're going to have to let the fans know on some level because the NBA, with again gambling and all of these situations happening, the injury reporting rules are more stringent than ever, and there's reasons for it. So yeah, the Cavaliers and even in the NBA's eyes, they don't care about Jared Allen or Darius Garland looking like a bitch. But there's other reasons they need to do that on. So yeah, I mean we'll see what happens over the next 4 days. Again, you got 2 tomato cans in the Memphis Grizzlies, and speaking of Memphis, we'll bring that city up coming up here after the break. LeBron James went cranky old man and shared some opinions about a couple of NBA cities, and then even hit his hometown with a stray shot. So we'll get into that. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the next 4 games of the Cavs. I'm sure next time we talk, we'll know who the playoff opponent is, and I'm sure we'll feel either really good or really bad about the matchup, and we'll get into it for sure. But yeah, we got LeBron coming up. We have, so much more stuff here to worry about. We have NCAA drama. Double A has a couple of questions to ask me about NCAA athletes at 18. Are they children? Are they adults? Are they man-children? We don't know. We'll get into that. And then also, speaking of my co-host here, Double A, he has an idea on fixing NBA tanking. I've yet to hear this, so I don't know if this is brilliant or stupid or both. But we will find out together. Let's take a quick break. Thank you for sticking around during the first segment. I hope you stick around for the next 2. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network, brought to you by Fanatics. Again, that QR code right up here. Check that out for any sort of apparel when it comes down to the Guardians or the Cavaliers or the Browns or anybody in the NCAA tournament right now. We got Michigan and UConn fighting it out for a national title, and basically, do we hate both of these teams? I think Double A. I think the only thing that could be worse would be Duke. But it is what it is. Go to fanatics.com. If you are a UConn fan or a Michigan fan, pick up some apparel and just don't tell us about it. But yeah, this is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We have Double A Anthony Alford. I'm Rob Rozycki. We have Eli Moon on assignment in Northern Manchuria. He will be back next week, and we will be back in just a couple of minutes here on the Inside Edge Net. See you soon.
Hey, I got something to show you guys. Take a look. It is spring. Happy spring to all of you. Take a look at what we have here for you from AlleyRoseFragrances.com. Beautiful spring scent candles here for you. Hand poured with premium fragrance and essential oils. How about this? Our coconut soy wax candles bring fresh, uplifting spring scents to your home. Made with clean, natural ingredients, they're a mindful choice for sensitive spaces and those who love effortless, seasonal fragrances. You got to check it out right now. There's the soft bloom and the lemon bar candles, all healthy ingredients, all from AlleyRoseFragrances.com. And if you're a first-time customer, use the promo code InsideEdge20. That's InsideEdge20. Get this for yourself, for your friends, family, everyone. You want a good-smelling home, AlleyRoseFragrances.com will make it happen. Again, AlleyRoseFragrances.com. Get the new spring candles. And when you order, if you're a first-time customer, InsideEdge20 is the promo code.
Clean energy, bold flavors, no jitters. See why people won't shut up about Dubby. Clean energy, no jitters or crash. Helps you lock in and focus. Over 15 absolute fire flavors to choose from. Visit Dubby.gg and use promo code InsideEdge10. Whether you're searching for a baseball autographed by your favorite World Series slugger, a signed football by an iconic Hall of Famer, or the jersey of a world-famous soccer star, you've come to the right place. Here at sportsmemorabilia.com, the web's leading source of authentic sports memorabilia, you'll find more than 500,000 authentic products from nearly every professional sports league, team, and player. Not only will you find your next prized sports possession with ease thanks to superb customer service and tremendous site experience, but you'll have the satisfaction and peace of mind that every product listed comes complete with a certificate of authenticity and is fully backed by the sportsmemorabilia.com lifetime authenticity guarantee.
To the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rozycki. We got Double A Anthony Alford. Eli Moon is on assignment as we speak. He should be back and better than ever next week. Speaking of sports memorabilia, it looks like we're going to be making an appearance at Independence Greeny Sports collectible show. I think that'll be coming up in the not too distant future. Correct, Double A?
Yeah, next weekend they're going to have shows. In fact, their big one coming up in Independence, Ohio, Independence High School. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday general admissions is all available. I believe we will be there Sunday next week. Again, for more details, go to greeniesportscards.com, greeniesportscards.com. Myself and Kyle Cornell of the Side Hustle Wrestling Podcast, we did a show. We actually did WrestleMania 40, our preview show there a couple of years ago. It is fantastic. And I think you especially.
The show, not WrestleMania, right?
Actually, that year WrestleMania was great. That was okay. This year's a different story, and we'll get into that on that show. But all the sports cards that's there is phenomenal. I know you love the sports cards and stuff, so I think you'll have a great time. Our own Chad Bryant will be there as well next Sunday. So come say hello to us and check out all the merchandise that's there, past and present. It'll all be there. I think you'll love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'll be probably buying a lot of packs and spending money that I probably shouldn't be spending. But you know what? Nikki just had that week in Disney. I can have a few hours in Independence. But yeah, we'll be checking that out. Come say hi. Check out. I'm sure we'll be doing a live broadcast. We haven't ironed everything out yet, but I'm sure we'll be doing something along that lines out there. But yeah, and hopefully we haven't had a confirmation from Moon yet, because honestly we've been just talking about this in the last 2 hours. So I'm sure we'll be a trio out there. If not, Moon will give his best regards. But yeah, check it out for sure. It'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Independence High School.
Yep.
But this is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We teased it before the break. LeBron, he went cranky old man, and then he doubled down on it. We thought about throwing this in the Cleveland segment, but I guess we'll throw this, in the middle of the show here with general NBA content. LeBron was giving his opinion on a couple of NBA cities, and apparently he doesn't like going a few places. He thinks some teams should move. And, the city of Cleveland took a stray in the whole situation. Double A, I believe we have audio, right?
How people have taken those comments.
What do you mean, taken?
People have been upset about the fact that Memphis was looked at as a team that, black people in Memphis, right, compared to, Nashville, for example. So,
did I say I don't like black people?
No, you didn't say that. But there were people who were wondering why Memphis was targeted.
Milwaukee was too. Did they miss that one too? They didn't see that?
Not as much commentary.
Oh, yeah, okay. I said Milwaukee as well. Yeah. 41 years old. It's two cities I do not like playing in right now. And that's Milwaukee and that's Memphis. What is the problem? I don't like going home either. Shit, and I'm from there. What is people... People are ridiculous. They also get mad at my son being on the team too. So what are we talking about? Okay, people need to figure out other ways to put their energy to other things that's important. Like seriously, I'm not talking about the city, like the people in Memphis. I don't like staying at the Hyatt Center. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Nothing. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? I think we need to chill the hell out.
We're starting.
Thank you.
Old man yells at clouds. LeBron, it seems like by the day, is turning into a bitter old. I mean, I can understand it. He's 23 years into the NBA. Nobody's ever done that long. He's probably going to play another year, if not two. So, yeah, I mean, if anybody has any opinions on the travel schedule, on any sort of minutia with the NBA life, it is LeBron, and he is entitled to have those opinions on favorite away cities, least favorite away. But why do you have to start just talking about this? Why, just because you have an opinion doesn't mean you, and it's funny that we're saying it on a podcast, just because you have an opinion doesn't mean you need to put it out for the world to hear.
Yeah, man. I mean, LeBron has a history of saying stuff that he shouldn't say and then turning around and saying, why did you react that way? Even though I said it, why are you reacting this way? LeBron has done that all the time. And we talked about in the past when LeBron was here, all the drama that's with LeBron, a lot of it, and even in that clip, a lot of it is that passive-aggressive type attitude that you see with LeBron. It's not really a problem, but this is why it's a problem. He has done this for years. And like, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess honestly, playing this now, it has bothered me more. Just now playing this, even though that clip was fresh like 2 or 3 days ago.
Well, the thing that's different, and what I think LeBron himself is going to have to realize, we are not talking about in his prime, 28-year-old LeBron James anymore. We're not even talking about 35-year-old LeBron James. But we're not talking about in your prime 28 year-old LeBron James, where any team would be happy if he jumped into bed with you. You would be thrilled if that was laying next to you in bed. However, 28 has turned into 42. The game isn't as tight. The body isn't as tight. We're not, this isn't exactly, what you were in your prime. Not every team would be thinking that you are God's gift to their existence. And what this is going to be doing, I mean, I don't think Milwaukee and Memphis were contenders to begin with. I think he picked two pretty safe basketball-wise markets. They're not going to be winning anything in the next couple of years. But when you're just starting to kind of piss people off randomly, all of a sudden now, maybe that stuff you could get away with when you were the 28-year-old hot girl. When you're the 43-year-old past their prime, the wrinkles are kicking in, the personality matters a little bit more, and maybe this might not be the most attractive thing for everybody. And I think LeBron's going to have no problem finding a job next year, but this is definitely going to limit the candidates, I would think.
Well, I guess the other will it? I guess that's the other thing too. Specifically Cleveland, because he took major shots.
Why do you have to throw Cleveland in there? Like all this crap he had thrown out in the world completely unprompted. Nobody asked him, "How do you like playing in Cleveland?"
Yeah, I mean, and Rich Paul, I think even mentioned on the podcast, like how they don't like spending time in Akron. They don't like. Again, I'm not saying the reasons that he mentioned is not valid, right? There are psycho fans across the league, but, especially home that could be, like, oh, why does Bronny have to be on the team? And that was the other thing, too, that he mentioned, is that no matter which team he is a part of, his son Bronny is going to be on that team as well, and I question his ball handling skills.
Well, the other thing, too, and he made it a point, in the clarification that you just played, that it was not the people of Memphis. It was not the people of Milwaukee. He didn't like staying in the Hyatt. He didn't like the situation. he didn't like the city itself. In the same statement, he said the complete opposite about his hometown. He said it was, in fact, the people is what drives him crazy in Cleveland, Akron, wherever he's going to be. He's very good at being from Akron some days and Cleveland on other days. But, yeah, that's where that stuck out in my head was like, okay, if it was just like I didn't like the setup from the Holiday Inn into the queue. I understand, okay, if it is the weather, if it is, just stuff about the city that you really can't mess with, I get it. But he went out of his way to be like, no, the people are kind of annoying in Cleveland. And, this was a fan base that tolerated you leaving and tolerated being embarrassed on a national level. Enough to the point where, yes, 4 years later and you were still that 28-year-old hot girl, you came back and we took you in with open arms. And then you played 4 years here. You won a title. Thank you for that. But then you left again. And even after leaving again, this market is still open and still welcoming you, the idea of a 43-year-old LeBron James coming back in for a third time to do nothing but end your career on a good note, on a positive note, on the storybook ending. This is not for Cleveland, LeBron. This would be for you if you came back. And the fact that you're dogging the city, you're dogging the market, you're dogging the fan base, you're dogging the people that filled that fucking arena up for you for 4 straight years without questioning anything, while ticket prices were jacked up, while they were getting every red nickel out of the fan base that they possibly could, you were fine with that. You seemed to be okay with that. But the fact that you're now giving another middle finger to the fan base, again, you're not that 28-year-old hot girl. We don't need you. We're not that team wandering around at 2:15 a.m. looking for someone to go home with. We just talked about it last segment. We could make the second round of the playoffs this year and still underachieve. This isn't the 19-win Kyrie Irving team that we had 10 years ago when you came back. So let's slow your roll, LeBron. Let's have some self-awareness and realize where you're at in your NBA career.
And this is the only fan base, Cleveland, not Miami, not Los Angeles. This is the only fan base that, for the most part, universally, will discuss LeBron James among the all-time GOATs and make arguments about where he stacks up against Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and other legends in this. How do you do that when you screw the pooch in your own hometown?
I'll take it one step further. If in LA, we see it every day. He is not seen as a top 1 or 2 Laker of all time. That's Magic. That's Kobe. That's Kareem. That's Worthy. That's Rick Fox in a lot of, Derek Fisher, whatever. Miami. You might not have been the best player on your team to start things out with. You had Dwayne Wade next to you.
And it was his city, D-Wade City.
It's Miami Wade County. It's not LeBron County. You also had Shaq there, too. He won a title there. So, you got those 2 franchises. You could make an argument that he's not a top 2 player there. Here, there is no argument. He's not a top 2 player. He's the best player this franchise has ever had. I know Kyrie Irving can make a case for it. Donovan's making a case right now to be number 2. But there's still a gap between 2 and 3 and number 1. And this is the only team that can do that for him. This is the only market that can do. This is the only market that's going to tolerate, if he does stick around for a couple of years, a 44, 45-year-old LeBron James lumbering up and down the court 13 minutes a game, just trying to sell some tickets. No other team that's winning anything is going to have any patience for that. So, LeBron, you're looking for your retirement home right now. You better not be pissing off some cities at this point.
Well, let's spin it back to Cleveland. And do you want him here? Like, let's say the Cavaliers, for whatever reason, it's a first or second round exit, and it's clear and obvious the Cavaliers, as currently constructed, is not good enough to win a title. after those comments, I wonder how many people are changing their minds about wanting LeBron here after
I
those
think it's
comments.
a case of maybe he was the first option, but now he is an option. Now, maybe, at least for me, I'm willing to look around the league and see if there's another cost-effective, another situation, another guy that we could bring in that could do what LeBron could do on some level at 42 years old. But yeah, I think that's going to affect the fan base a lot. I think, this fan base takes things personally. This fan base, can hold grudges or love a player unconditionally, depending on who you are. And I don't know if I want LeBron back because of stuff that happened this week. That's kind of going to, that's going to be the normal news cycle. That's going to be the normal rigmarole for this Cavalier team or any team that LeBron is going to be on. Especially if he's here, he's going to feel more comfortable here. He's going to feel like he can, shoot the shit with the media a little bit more than maybe another city. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is he trying to position himself return to Miami or somewhere else? Does he feel
Go
like
to
he can
state.
bring the Knicks over the hump, or what's going on? But right now, he's not doing himself any favors with anybody in the league, because the older he gets, the less that juice is going to be worth that squeeze. And I want to see how long that's going to be before he's just another guy.
My last point on this, a couple things. LeBron is doing everything possible to shoot on his own legacy, which is unreal because, again, it's there for you. It is there for the taking. But he is shooting and crapping all over his own legacy, and then he's going to turn around and say, why are you reacting this way? That's part of it.
That's the insulting part of it is, hey, I pissed you off. Why are you pissed off?
Yes. And the second thing, on the Midnight Run show, I've been saying the red pill and the blue pill, and I'm like, okay, if the Cavs get knocked down in the first round or second round, I'm open to LeBron James coming back because the retirement tour here would be cool. But I know players say things behind closed doors all the time. But the fact that he said that publicly and was comfortable and saying that, hold on, real quick. The fact that he is saying that publicly, that's him doing that to the fans. I don't want that here.
And I'm sure everybody has opinion. Like, if you talk to players, coaches, broadcasters that travel with the team, we've had conversations with broadcasters who have been, currently and formerly working with pro teams. Yes, there are cities you like, there are cities you don't. That's just human nature. You can't fault anybody for, having opinions on that. You can fault them for opening their pie hole and sharing them with the world. And yeah, for somebody who is known to be so media savvy and so careful about the message he is always bringing out there, the fact that every once in a while he does have these moments that he just shoots the shit and just lets you know what he's thinking at any given point in time. It's gotta be, there's gotta be a reason behind it. There's got, at least contrived in his head, there's gotta be something there for it. But I don't know if that will affect anything. We have a whole playoff run and a whole champion to crown before we have to worry about off-season activities.
I think the final message, if you're a Cavalier fan, in your head, if you're thinking LeBron, get that out of your head right now. Get that out of your head. He does not want to be here. And after those comments that he made publicly, you should not want him here either. Get that out of your head right now. That is not what you want.
And even if he does come, even if he does thread that needle, this isn't LeBron 10 years ago. This isn't the Superman who's going to make everything up. We're talking about, probably somebody, the way this team is constructed right now, would be the sixth man. Like, it would not be completely out of the question for LeBron to come off the bench for this team. He is right with the Sam Merrills, the Max Struses of the world. So, yeah, I would say calm everything down. He would be a nice addition. It'd be a nice story, but again, what Double A said, does he even want to come here, and how much help can he give?
And from a business standpoint, and then Rob, we can move. I'm sorry. From a business standpoint, he has businesses here. That is a stupid thing to say. When you have business, he just opened a restaurant in Akron. He has a school down there. He has other business interests. Him and Rich Paul, they have other business interests here in Northeast Ohio. Why would you say that? Even as a business owner, that doesn't make sense. It's stupid.
Well, it kind of goes to that whole, I know there's nothing political about those takes that he was making, but it goes to like what Jordan would always say about, be going political. It goes, Republicans buy shoes too. And why do you just want to piss off a group of people for no reason? And that's kind of what LeBron just did. But yeah, in other NBA news, we talked about the Cavs. We got, the final 4 games. It seems like it is the last 7 days of the season for pretty much everybody in the league. And where the Cavaliers are at right now, they can finish as good as 3rd and as bad as what? I think you can even, if everything tanks out horribly, they can go as low as 6th. So, I'm sorry, the 5 seed. So
correct.
The Cavaliers are pretty
seed.
locked in. The rest of the East is pretty locked in. We already know what the playoff teams are going to be. We've known what they're going to be for the last week or two. Same thing with the West. And that is because we are in one of the most lopsided seasons in NBA history. Double A, you had a stat about margin of victory in the last 80 years of professional basketball.
Yeah, and courtesy of Tim Reynolds for pulling this yesterday. There have been 2 days in NBA history spanning 80 years where at least 9 games were played with an average margin of victory being at least 24 points. Only 2 days in 80 years of NBA basketball. It happened twice this season in the last 8 days. It happened last Friday, and it happened last Sunday.
Yep. And that is not a microcosm either. That is not just 2 anomalous events happening in this 6-month marathon of an NBA season. We've talked about it on this show. Other shows have talked about it. Tanking, and some people call it tanking. Some people call it point shaving. I guess the reason is the reason why is what difference the name for it. But we're talking about teams purposely losing games, trying to improve draft position. This is supposed to be a very loaded draft class. Top 6-7 guys all look like they're going to be able to play pretty well in the league. And teams are getting in line for that. And what that has caused is this Mendoza line in the NBA, this line between the haves and have-nots, the line between the Milwaukee Heat and the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks, or the line between the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies. Where the 10 seed in the West is 25.5 out of first place. The team right behind them, Memphis, is 12 games back of that. We are talking about disparity that we've never seen in the NBA, all because of wanting to improve the draft position. Thank God this is happening while Cleveland's playing well. We have been immune from this kind of crap. But the rest of the league has not. We're talking, a third of the league that has been openly tanking now for several months? And a lot of people have, a lot of very intelligent, very learned individuals have pitched theories about how to avoid tanking for draft position. And since none of them have really come up with anything, Double A, you had something, right?
So, to add to your point, and to set up my proposal, all of the playoff / play-in spots, or at least teams, were decided a week ago. Actually, a week and a half ago.
I want to say, actually, when we were talking before I went on vacation, so this would have been 3 weeks ago, it was all but maybe one team was decided even then. So, it was pretty much locked in.
I think when you left, the last holdover was Milwaukee, and that was it. And again, that's mid-March. That's tournament time. So here's my proposal. Because there are some teams, we mentioned Indiana, There are some teams that are truly bad. They had unfortunate injuries, and they just can't compete. They should
thought
not.
Boston was going to be this year with Tatum going down and everything like that. Halliburton with the pain. Yeah, some teams you just have.
Right.
It's just a bad year.
So I don't want to take away draft picks, but here's my proposal. We have an 82-game regular season schedule, right? Cool, great. What I'm doing, I'm scheduling. Do you remember the 2020 pandemic season?
Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot going on besides that, so yeah.
Oh yeah, we were both there. We were both doing shows. Do you remember when the NBA resumed play in 2020?
Yeah.
Were the Cavs invited to Las Vegas?
No, I think that was the last year before the rise. I think that was everyone was still rookies or second-year players back then.
Mm-hmm.
We're worried about young bull, yeah.
So what the NBA did with the pandemic, they said, "Hey, we only played like 70-something games. We're going to invite playoff teams, play-in teams, and teams that are in contention for the play-in to come back to finish out the last 8 games of the regular season. If you're not in contention, your season's over. You stay home." And the Cavaliers, their season was done. That was it. I would bring that back, and here's how. I'm scheduling 72 regular season games. Everybody can compete, 72 regular season games, blah, blah, blah. After 72 games, if your team is not in playoff or play-in contention, your season's over. That's it. Therefore, and then the other teams that are involved, they get the other 10 regular season games. So therefore, those teams that are knocked out of the playoffs or play-in, you lose 5 home games. That's 5 games of lost revenue. Now, I'm not going to, again, there are some bad teams, and win percentage.
What if you do it with 5-game checks, too? 10-game checks.
Mm-hmm. You're taking away 10 games.
That would be what would affect, and that would be the reason why it would never happen, because the union would have to sign off on that, and the union ain't going to do that. But that would be the way to do it, where to be hit the owners for, that's 5 home games a gate. That's 5-game check or 10-game checks for a player. That's lost revenue for everybody involved.
Yep, that's what I would push. And then those last 10 regular season games are against all contending teams. So you're going to get competitive basketball because you're going to have teams jockeying for position in the standings, whether it's to play in, whether it's to get in the play in, or get out of the play in and into a playoff spot. Like those last 10 games are all going to matter. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Washington Wizards. I'm looking at some of these other bum teams that are clearly not trying to compete. Utah, some of these other teams. You lose 10 regular season games at the end. You're done. You want to tank? You don't want to be in contention for the play-in? You're done.
Yeah, or what you can even do too, and I don't know again how the NBA, the owners would have to sign off on this themselves, and I'm not sure if that would work. But if there is a like a rule that says if you are, maybe year 2, again we all you said with Indiana you got one bad year in there, okay, but if you turn this into a couple 2-3 years, then maybe you have to hand over every nickel of that. You keep the 82, but you have to hand over every nickel of of your home gate to the league. Say, all right, you are not doing this for your benefit. You are doing this so we can keep our TV schedule at 82 games, and we can keep our schedule balanced. You are not doing this for any financial gain. Get out there, go. So yeah, that might. There has to be something on. On I guess on an executive level, because the only other solution or the only other thing that I'm looking at on this, and we talk about me and Moon have gotten into epic battles over the All-Star game and players trying on that, where we have NBA players these teams tanking. We have a lot of notions, the load management in there too. These seem like they all could be 4 separate problems, but they really seem to be 4 symptoms of the same illness. And I think that illness, and again, you want to talk about shit that's never going to get zipped through the NBA, the season is too long. The season is entirely too long. You remember the bubble season, and part of the nice part about that was the condensed nature of it. We remember the one of the Miami 2018 the lockout year with LeBron, when they had a 63 game schedule.
2012. Yeah.
There was a sense of urgency with everything. There was a push. There wasn't that first 6 weeks of we're just going to screw around and try to get to Christmas and then really start playing. They were ready to go from day one, but they're never going to do it because 41 home dates are better than 32. So that will never be the case. But I think the whole issue is the season's way entirely too long. And because of this, you got teams that have been dead and buried for 3 months, still reanimating corpses and getting out there and trying to compete in games. Or you got, players that are having injury problems. You have players that don't want to be there, whatever. But yeah, I think shortening the season might not be the worst idea, but again, they're never going to do it.
Well, Steve Kerr made an interesting point about that. And he mentioned, today's NBA, our buddy Nick Camino always say about today's athletes are bigger, faster, stronger than ever before. And in the case of the NBA, Steve Kerr made the point, and I'm paraphrasing, that essentially, these players are running up and down the floor way more than they did 20, 30 years ago. And so there are more offensive possessions. I mean, how many games are we getting where teams are scoring over 120 points, 130 points a game? I remember my introduction of the NBA, and when I first got into it, I remember final scores being like 61-59.
Oh yeah, those old Pistons and Spurs teams, and with Billups and Tim Duncan and all those guys. Yeah,
I mean, the classic Lakers Spurs, the Derek Fisher 0.4 second game, that was a 74-73 final score. On a nightly basis in today's NBA, that might be a halftime score.
I think it has been.
On a lower end.
Yeah. Now, the other solution, I think, to tanking is not so much a league mandated rule. It is what the Miami Heat did against those Washington Wizards. And the Cavs got a couple of these tomato can teams coming up. The Memphis Grizzlies in the next couple of days, and they finish out with those same Wizards. If you want to tank, if you want to purposely play like shit, then I'm going to instruct James Harden to try to get 35 assists tonight. I'm going to try to set an NBA record and humiliate you so damn bad that all anybody's going to do for the next 3 days is talk about how shitty of an operation you have in Memphis or in Washington or in Utah or wherever we're talking about here. That might be the way to do it. We talk about it with the umpires and public shaming. Yeah, I think, if you are Washington, you are supposed to have some pride, and you may not want James Harden dropping 91 points on you on the last day of the season.
As a selfish Cavs fan, I would obviously want that.
Oh, I'd love that.
I would love that, especially if it's from James Harden, who, and I'll be clear about this, I'm not concerned about James Harden running out of gas, because offensively, he hasn't been asked to score all those points. He's been a playmaker, so that would be more than amazing to see him challenge that scoring record if that were to happen. And again, a lot of these players do have player incentives involved. Bam Adebayo, off of one game, his career and the way that he's going to be paid now, he has been forever changed. And it's not his fault, by the way, that he got 83 points. It's the Washington Wizards, to your point, the Wizards giving up 83 points to allow that to happen.
We're not talking about college. We're not talking about high school. We're not talking about middle school where we're building character and teaching the game. We're talking about professionals who are getting money for their services. They will leave a team just as quick to join another team for a better paycheck. They do not care about emotion and humiliation then. You shouldn't. This is cold-blooded. You need to do what you need to do. And yes, a professional mercenary athlete, when they see blood in the water, they strike. Go for it.
Yeah, it's something that I hopefully, if we're going to keep at this, I'm just amazed. And I don't want to say that the NBA is completely shot in the foot. I want to be fair because once we get to the playoffs, I think the playoffs are going to be fun. Once you get all these crappy teams out of the way and we're in the playoffs, you're going to see the very best of the best every single night through June. So that part I'm excited about. But it's the regular season product that you mentioned, Rob. I'm looking at baseball. Rob Manfred, every rule change that Rob Manfred proposed were unpopular rule changes. And yet all of them have worked.
Mm-hmm.
All of them, 85% of them have worked. Even the Ghost Runner. As a broadcaster, I effing love the Ghost Runner in the regular season. When I used to run Guardian games.
Yeah, we're not staying there till 3:00 in the morning anymore on a 14-inning game. It's an 18-inning game, whatever it is.
So why can't the NBA? Why are they unable? Their leadership to come up with unique ways to evolve the game like baseball has done.
Oh, they're trying. They just haven't worked. I mean, we got the in-season tournament. We have, all of this stuff that they're doing, trying to run the league very European-esque. Like, actually, that's kind of what I was thinking might be the next step on this, to kind of curb the tanking and maybe keep the season at the same length would be to do almost what soccer does and have like a month and a half, 2 months in the middle of the season where, we're taking a break. And, you have your 40 and your 40 and you do what you do there. You keep everybody a little healthier. You keep, everything a little easier. But all of a sudden now your off season is a month and a half long. So
hold up. How would that look? That's not a bad idea. How would that look?
I'd say run your first 40 games up until have your last day of the first half be Christmas Day. Kind of, and at that, if you're doing half and half, think of like minor league baseball where the first half champs would have some sort of clinching playoff, scenario. So there would be some big games happening on Christmas. You take your 6 weeks off, maybe around Groundhog Day or Valentine's Day, kick it back in with an all-star game and play your final 40. But that puts your NBA Finals probably in July, I would think.
So I would think.
And then maybe the trade-off is that you have a couple more back-to-backs.
So you could start the regular season probably at the top of October.
I'd say, I would say either at top of October, mid-September, somewhere.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll go with mid-September. So you run the first 40 from mid-September. You use Christmas Day
that would give you 2 months. That would give you 2 months, right? Yeah.
Right. And you use Christmas Day as like a blow-off, right? Kind of like I think Premier League does like their final day. There's like a madness type day or something like that.
Yeah, it would be like everybody's playing that day. That would be, like a quadruple header national TV kind of shit.
And that's one of those things. I know people hate, working holidays. We've had to do it. But that's one of those things. If you have the entire league playing on Christmas Day, you're off afterwards.
Or even with that too, even if you want to, give them a, kind of either lengthen it out by starting it at the top of September or saying maybe New Year's Eve is your drop dead date, whatever. But, just kind of maybe, because I was thinking about the math on that, 3 months is about 90 days. You're asking, 40 games in 90 days? Actually, no, that's about every other day. That should be okay.
And then what you
just kind of have, your two halves of the season that are 3 months apiece.
And then what you could do, because I know Adam Silver they're going to be off and running with NBA Europe. They want to get that going. They're working on plans to merge the new NBA Europe with Eurosport. They want to get that merged. You can, at that point, that's where you can do an NBA versus an international tournament in between.
Yeah, that would be that month and a half where, like soccer, you'd have like a lot of international friendlies. You'd have, that's where your national season would kind of happen. And yeah, you could kind of, lengthen that out. And yeah, if you do want to have European involvement, you do have that in there. You can have your intercontinental series, if you want to call it that, and maybe see if you want to go legally with the WWE on IP rights, but some sort of deal with that where maybe you do have your first half NBA champ against your Euro champ or whatever, maybe your top 2 or 3 teams, whatever it might be. So yeah, and then Adam Silver always loves a new tournament, so we can go with that. Or if you're not involved with that, you can just sit on your ass and heal up and get a little healthier for the second half of the season, and then you start your playoffs. So if we're giving it 2 months, you come back Groundhog Day, that's top of February. That puts you to the end of March, basically, maybe mid-April. Mm-hmm. Start your playoffs roughly you start your playoffs about the same time you would now.
Just about the same time. Yeah. It would actually work out.
That might not
be a radical change, but I
had no preparation on that. I pulled that straight out of my keister, but I think that might have been one of the best ideas I've had on this show.
You know what? Let's cap it there.
Yes.
Before we ruin it.
Oh yeah, we'll take a break here right now. I will bask in the glow of actually coming up with a halfway decent point on the sperm of the moment here. But yeah, we have a packed third segment to talk about too. We got silly season upon us in the NFL. And again, it's funny that I'm saying this on a podcast. People are just saying stuff right now to hear themselves talk and to fill some airtime. We're going to get into the all the craziness that's happening with the Browns. Double A, he brought up a great story with us before the show started about the way that these NCAA athletes are looked at. They are 18, 19 years old, and in a lot of eyes, that's adult, and in some eyes, that's still a child. And we'll talk about it's nuanced. There's going to be a whole lot of a give and take in that conversation. We'll get into that too. And then obviously we'll wrap up the show just like FanDuel is wrapping up their network coming up in a couple of weeks, or in about a week now. Yeah. We'll wrap up the show. Only the difference is that we'll be back next week. FanDuel probably won't. But we'll get into a whole lot of other stuff here to finish out the show. Thank you for sticking around for the first 2 segments. I hope you stick around for the final third of the show. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rob Rozycki. Eli Moon, he is somewhere out there right now, and he will be back, though, better than ever in about 7 days. A Sunday from now, we have Double A Anthony Alford. He is also with us. And again, I'm Rob Rozycki, main event, Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. This is the main event. I am Rob Rozycki. We have AA Anthony Alford, Eli Moon, whereabouts unknown. I did think of something during the break. I haven't seen Eli since the Artemis mission launched into space. So I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. Probably. But that's just something to think about. But yeah, he'll be back next week, better than ever. But yes, we have one more segment left of the show. And before we get to the NCAA and tournament expansion and silly season in the NFL AA, you have a few words about something that I think Moon would actually dig pretty well.
Yeah, and I think it's something close to you as well. So these next couple of weeks, the Mentor High School here locally in Northeast Ohio, the Cardinal Band, they're doing an incredible promotion, a scholarship program raffle. And you see the link there on the website, go.rallyup.com/Music Mentors 2026. I do need to ask Pete, though, is it Music Mentors or Music Mentors? So I got to figure that out.
It's mentor if you're out of the area. It's mentor if you're from there. I've been not living here for a while.
Yes, but yeah, definitely. And the QR code has the link as well. It's your opportunity to support Mentor High School's 2026 Music Mentors Scholarship Program. Music Mentors, they're a nonprofit booster organization. They serve all the schools, all the middle schools. So that's Shore Middle School, Memorial Middle School, and of course, the Mentor High School as well. And the organization consists of parents, teachers, and students working together to promote music in their schools. Music Mentors support Mentor High School's Fighting Cardinal Marching Band and its 175 students. And here's the cool thing. So this is a scholarship program raffle. A lot of cool prizes they have involved with this. And the cool thing is that 100% of the proceeds from this fundraiser will go towards the Music Mentor Scholarship Program, which provides scholarship for the Mentor High School's band seniors. Again, go to the website, go.rallyup.com/Music Mentors 2026. And the QR code is available on top of your screen. And you could donate and win cool prizes at the 2026 Music Mentors Scholarship Program raffle. This is only 2 weeks, so get in on the raffle right now. This raffle closes up 2 weeks from today, so get in on this right now. Local high school here, Mentor High School. Good time to support and win some cool prizes.
Yeah. Yeah, especially nowadays with the way that, especially kids in the arts, we seem to be cutting back a lot of programs here and there. Mentors are still really good when it comes down to, band, choir, theater, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough and I speak from experience as a kid that went, maybe not into music, but into theater, that, yeah, any sort of help you can get when it comes down to paying tuition, and that goes for anybody, but especially where the kids in the arts seem to get ignored now when STEM gets a lot of the hype, and even colleges in general just kind of getting cut away. Yeah, that is a good cause to go with. Again, check out the website and donate and see if you can help some of these kids out. But this is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. Rob Rozycki. We no Eli Moon today. We have Anthony Alford in-house. And one more segment left of the show. Normally news and notes, but this has been kind of a news and notey kind of show. So we're just going to kind of keep this going along. We have a bunch of NCAA basketball news, obviously. And it seems like, we haven't really talked about it for the first couple hours of the show. National title game tomorrow will be the Wolverines of Michigan and the Huskies of UConn. Two of the more unlikable programs in the country, especially two of the most unlikable programs in Northeast Ohio. But yeah, they're going to be duking it out tomorrow for the national title. There's some other stuff happening right now. We got tournament expansion down the pipes. The once field of 64, that's now the field of 68. Looks like it's in honor of the bicentennial and a half, going to be the field of 76 coming up in maybe as early as next year.
Yeah,
so,
it looks like all reportedly pass, and they're gonna get this put in next season, Rob.
Well, and we'll move to silly season in the NFL in a second here, because I think this is kind of silly enough season too, with the tournament expanding to 76 teams. How is this exactly going to work?
So it looks like this is going to basically just be an expansion of the first four. So I would imagine the way it is now, you have two 16 versus 16 matchups.
Yes.
And then two mid-major matchups. It's
like 11 seed or a 12 seed or sometimes I think they've even done it where like it's been the 9 seed, it's been like NC State and like a random lower end Big Ten school even. So
basically double those up. So essentially all 4 16 seed slots will be determined, I would imagine, in the 16 versus 16 matchups. And then all the mid-major spots, whether it's 11 versus 11 or 12 versus 12, those will be the other ones. And I'll say this, I know you got thoughts on this too, Rob. I know a lot of people, I get it. A lot of people are like, who asked for this? This is stupid. Why would they do this? When was the last time we have ever bragged about the first 4? I understand. Listen, I don't want this to turn into 96 and 128. I know that's here, and I know it's probably going to. And I get that. But all they're doing is just adding a second site for the first 4 and making the first 4 a little bit more compelling. That's it. They're not ruining Thursday, Friday, and the weekend. It's just the first 4, which none of you idiots cared about anyway.
But the thing is, and I got a couple of points here, what it's going to do, it's going to mess up the bracket system a lot. It's going to mess up the idea that you got to get your bracket done by 11:30 on the Thursday that the tournament starts. Now all of a sudden you got 8 games, and if you're talking about 8 teams in these mid-majors and these 8, 9, 10, 11 seeds that could be affected by this, those are teams. We've seen a team in a play-in game. I forget who it was a few years ago. They won the play-in game. I think they got the Sweet 16. So we're not talking about just all 15 and 16 seeds that are going to be basically cannon fodder. So it's going to mess the timing up of that one. Office pools everywhere are going to be trying to figure out what the hell to do. The other thing is, do we want to make the tournament bigger because more teams have a chance of winning it? Or do we want to make it bigger just to make it bigger? Because, and these are the last 4 out. Oklahoma at 9-15. We got Bruce Pearl's favorite team, Auburn, San Diego State, and the Indiana Hoosiers. Those are the first 4 out. So you would assume that they would be in, and then 4 more teams past that would be in. Are we really lacking anything this year by not having Oklahoma, Indiana, Auburn, San Diego State, whoever in this tournament?
That would be the SEC saying, hey, we deserve to have more entrants in there and other power conferences. I do
just
get your
love
point.
bitching about having automatic entries in playoffs, don't they?
I get it. Look, listen, I get if again in a perfect world, 64 is perfect. 64 is perfect. It's a perfect bracket.
I didn't think there was anything to mess with there. I really didn't.
It's a perfect sheet that you just fill out and stuff like that. I get it. But since we're already at 65 and then the 68, I don't think 76 makes much of a difference. And you're adding on. I do want to point out real quick a couple comments from our YouTube there. So that's one of them. And then this person also said, for the bettors. It's always for the bettors, right? Like, it's always for the bettors. It's always more games to bet on.
And in this case, it's for the Turner family of networks. It's for CBS and that whole deal to televise more games. Now we have, remember, 10 years ago, we didn't have the ability to really put on every game of the tournament. I think, there was still as late as 5 years ago, there was games that certain markets just didn't see because there was just a shit ton going on. Now we have the streaming. Now we have the fact that you can put them on any one of, True TV to TBS to TNT to CBS Sports, everything. You can load these things up so you can air all these games. But yeah, I mean, that's ultimate. I think the betting, that YouTube commenter had probably down pretty well. I mean, that's why the NFL wants another game. That's why nobody's willing to cut games right now. That's why the bowl season in college football exists for betting. And that's why in a lot of cases some of these sports do exist, period, is for the betting.
Well, and that's why as well, and we'll get back to the college thing in 2 seconds, to your NFL point, if we're going to get that 18th game, it's very easy to do because all you're going to do is flip that third preseason game into a regular season game and make it count.
Forgetting the fact that 3/4 of the players don't play that preseason game. Yeah.
Right.
For a reason.
Mm-hmm. Like, you do make a point. But, yeah, I mean, the college basketball is so accessible now, at least with March Madness. My only thing would be, like I mentioned before, the first four, I don't think anybody has ever cared about the first four. If your sole purpose is to make the first four better, I don't think going to 76 is a bad idea, but I think you're right from the standpoint of, 76 will soon become 96 and will soon become 128.
We're seeing it happen in football, where 4 became 8, became 12, will become 16, will probably become 20 or 24 after that. That's
and football skipped 8. The perfect number in college football is 8, and they skipped it. They went right to 12.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least they saved us the time on that one. At least they're just like, okay, we know what we're here for. But yeah, I mean, it's ultimately what all these moves are. If it is more teams in the tourney, if it's expanded playoffs in other sports, extended regular seasons in any sports, is a cash grab. That's really what it's there for. And remember that anytime you hear a league talk about player safety, because the player safety really just goes up into the line of, will it affect us making money? And the second that it does affect making money, then all of a sudden CTE is just a state of mind. But yeah,
facts.
That is what the NCAA is doing right now. I mean, we got at least the tournament will be wrapping up tomorrow, and it will be fun to watch. Hopefully Michigan go down. I mean, no, because I'm in a weird spot. I guess I'm the Inside Edge Network college basketball expert because I am leading our bracket, despite the fact that I really don't know much about college basketball.
You picked
my
all
100% chalk bracket
yes.
is dependent upon the University of Michigan winning the national title. If that's the case, then I can have bragging rights over everybody. So I'm torn. Yes.
And also, shockingly for me, even though I lost my national champion early on, thanks, Florida, I'm currently second. It's a miracle.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, again, this is just completely, I don't know what's happening here. But I think, with my chalk bracket, I think this kind of goes to the fact with the transfer portal and the way that everything's getting reshuffled around. It's just, upsets are just harder to come by now. It's, the mid-majors don't have nearly as much oomph maybe right now as they did 5 years ago.
Real quick, speaking of bettors, I wonder how many people just lost it when Duke lost that game to UConn last week.
I'm sure. I'm sure the only group of people who lost it because they screwed a bet up were the people that were going completely batshit crazy the other way because Duke lost. That's really one thing, like, and I give, the inappropriately tall Kyle Cornell a lot of shit for being a Yankees fan, but Duke's really the one team that more even than the Yankees or the Cowboys or any other entity in North America, the country can truly get together and love the fact when they blow a big game. And that was something, too, that we're not used to seeing. Like, Krzyzewski lost games, yeah. They never really choked. Mm-hmm. Duke did. And it was very fun to watch. It was fun to watch the holier than thou smart guys, look like shit for a couple seconds. So.
And it was fun in our league too, because I think we had four guys in our bracket pick Duke to win the championship. So they all went from favorites to all falling down in the standings at that.
Yeah, I was one of them. Again, chalk bracket. Yeah, that was one of them. But yeah, in other NCAA news, and you brought this up with me a couple days ago, actually. This was something that was been burning with you for a little bit of time. Jay Billis on ESPN was weighing in on a lot of issues with college basketball, kind of the state of the game as we're on the precipice of awarding a national title. And the debate on how to treat these college athletes came up. These 18-year-old, I'll just say human beings for the sake of this discussion, these 18-year-old human beings in a lot of cases are seen as kids. Appropriately so in some cases, when literally, these guys are half my age, less than half my age. Like, yes, they're kids in a lot of ways, but in some cases, they're seen as adults because they are making money, they are applying a trade, they are being expected to perform a series of tasks for compensation. And they had some. You have some audio on this. These guys had a lot of interesting things to say.
Yeah, this is Jay Billis and Seth Greenberg is in this as well. This was on ESPN.
Salute to Bald Men in Media, by the way.
Yes. This is a great discussion. I wish we could play the entire 8-minute segment, but we'll play the 30-second clip that Rob is referencing, courtesy of ESPN, about how we define 18-year-olds in men's college basketball.
But you got to find a balance, because I don't care what, with collective bargaining, it's a professional sport. All those things sound great. But in the end, these are 17 and 18-year-old kids.
They're not kids.
Well, yeah,
it's called men's college basketball. They're adults.
That's just rhetoric.
No,
a 17-year-old is not an adult.
They're adults.
17-year-old is a developing young person.
That's different.
That is not
You say
used to
developing young man.
Decision.
Developing young man is still an adult. They get charged with a crime. They're charged as an adult.
I mean,
Ross
had a great point. You can get charged with a crime. You can vote for the president of the United States. You can get drafted, which is right now a little bit more of a topic than it was maybe a few years ago. You are an adult by the eyes of the law, and you are, in a lot of cases, an adult by the size of your paycheck. You're not making $9.50 an hour flipping burgers at McDonald's. You're making, in some cases, 6 or 7 figures playing high-level basketball. So, yeah, I mean, it seems convenient in a lot of ways, and I think, agents help this out. I think, in a lot of cases, the guys in charge of spin help this out. In some cases, they are kids, and in some cases, they're adults. And whatever suits them best at whatever moment is whatever they're going to be.
I think it's a very interesting discussion. The one devil's advocate I will give you, you legally can't drink alcohol until you're 21. That's the only thing I'll give you. Which
a lot of people will actually use as a reason to lower the drinking age, not raise the adulthood age.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that's not brought up. I think that's huge. 18, you're an adult in the story. When you walk across the stage,
guy that wanted money for my college loans agreed with you.
Yeah, and the loans I'm still paying, and you may never get your money in full. I mean, you're an adult in the story. Like at that point, you're moved out, especially if you're in college. You're not living with your mom. Like, you're not living, like, you're probably making more than her at that point. I do think, is there a way that you could separate the college athlete that is on scholarship and that's it? Maybe. But once NIL is involved, once you're actually making 6, 7, 8 figures, as you mentioned, like especially if you're in that top percenter, if you're in those top programs, you're making big baller money. You are an employee. You are expected to perform. And those expectations, you are an adult. Kids, Kids are not expected to perform each and every single day.
And also, you are an employee and you have dependents now. You have people that you are either paying on your payroll, you have family members that you are living under your roof that you are responsible for financially, personally, whatever the case. I brought this up before when we were talking about high school NIL, was like, how much pressure do you want to put on a 16, 17-year-old kid who is now the primary breadwinner in the house? So, yes, 18, 19 years old, the Pirates, ask the Pirates right now with Connor Griffin, 19 years old is an adult. 19 years old is old enough to drive in runs in the big leagues right now. 19 years old is old enough, as we said, to be a corporal or a private in the military. You vote for president. You can get a life sentence for a stupid crime. Like, you are accountable for your actions. That's what the law tells you. And if anything, in modern, and I guess we're getting into a philosophical discussion right now in what is an adult in modern world. In this modern world, an adult is somebody who is responsible for their actions. I mean, do we want to get any? I mean, that's ultra basic and a big blanket statement, but that I think is a key thing about being an adult and making the money and having the pressure. So yeah, sometimes you want to be considered a kid, and sometimes, rightfully so, you're not experienced. You don't have a whole lot of, just miles on the tires at that point. But you can't have it both ways. You are either a kid or you're an adult. You can't be an adult when you're asking for money, and you can't be a kid when you get in trouble.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. And Coach Greenberg brought up a great point, and Coach Calipari, he was on that set, and they brought this up in terms of conversation. Yes, it is the responsibility of the institution to take care of these 18, 19-year-old men, I guess, to take care of them in development. But isn't that the same thing as your own workplace? Like in your work,
to say that's the same thing as a pro sports team with you got an NFL player with a concussion. It is the team's job to take care of you at that point. The union, you have a union in the pros, but yeah, you have entities out there who are in charge of protecting your rights and protecting your working conditions. So yeah, I mean, 18 or what, LeBron's 41, 42 years old, it doesn't matter. You get treated by the same thing.
Yeah, like in your workplace, no matter the job, it's the responsibility of your superiors to make sure you're taken care of, basically, right? Make sure that you're able to be put in the best position to perform your duties and succeed. If there is a case of burnout or something like that, maybe pull back or training and things like that. But you are expected to perform. If I'm not performing at my job, then they have every right to end it, right? As opposed to if you're a child, if you are just having a bad day at high school in a class, that's okay. They're not kicking you out of school for having a bad day in school.
And I think there's something too with, the idea of being a student compared to being a professional. We've all been students. We've all been professionals. And I guess another question you can ask is, do you, and I'll use student and developmental kind of in the same thing, prospect in the same thing too. When you start getting that money, serious cash, enough cash to want to stay around maybe for another year when you could have gone pro, which we're seeing happen in the NFL, with NCAA football players and stuff like that. Do you forego now being treated like the prospect? Because you're making top level money. The paycheck does warrant a lot of responsibility and a lot of pressure. And that's why my argument, one of my arguments against NIL, not saying we should completely scrap it, is that all of a sudden now, once you're starting to worry about making money, you're not worrying about developing as a player. You're not worrying about developing as a competitor. You're worried about just doing what you can to get the next big contract. And you forego, I think, in a lot of ways, just, having that innocence and having those kid gloves being used on you when you're a student. We were in broadcast school. We had a lot of, there was a couple situations that we put F-bombs on the air when we shouldn't have. We made mistakes. If we made those mistakes in the professional world, we get our asses kicked, probably fired, maybe fined. In school, in an educational environment, it was, don't fucking do that again. And a slap on the wrist and a learning experience. It was a learning experience. It wasn't a mistake in school. Do these players with these paychecks now and the ability to be entities among them, businessmen unto themselves, do they now sacrifice the learning experience and now you just fucked up?
That's a good question. And that's the tough thing, because all of a sudden your college scholarship is tied into NIL. Like, if you're off the team, are you still able to go to class? That part I don't know. And that's the tricky thing. And the toughest thing about all of this is, everyone on that set says, like, okay, we need to figure out a mental health standpoint. We need to figure out how to support these kids or support these adults, however you want to call it. Because, yes, we do admit an 18-year-old is not the same as a 27-year-old 8-year senior, right? So, like, that, they're not the same. That part of it is true. So that's a separate question of how do you solve that issue. But, to your point, if extracurriculars, we'll take our show that you just mentioned, if back in the day, All Sports Cleveland was a paid entity, and we were doing main event on the road,
$500 a week for $750 a week. Yeah,
getting paid. If we messed up and were fired for any reason, lost income, that's an adult situation. Honestly, that would have nothing to do with the broadcast journalism schooling that we were receiving. No. Because all of a sudden what we're doing with main event is a paid entity.
And it's, hey, we have sponsors on this thing. We have people paying for airtime. You piss them off, you got to go. That's what it would be. And that's what a professional broadcaster, rightfully, wrongfully, indifferent-wise, has to deal with. Now, when you're a broadcasting student, you can have somebody dropping F-bombs like George Carlin and Richard Pryor, and it's not going to, because we're playing free PSAs in our commercial breaks. We're not, doing, sweeties, or we're not doing, fanatics or anything like that. So there is nothing to really piss off. Here, you're a professional. You're making money. People are making money off you. Mm-hmm. You better do it.
My last thing,
and that's one of the prices you pay for. I said the same thing when A-Rod signed his $250 million contract, or $1 billion contract, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. For that kind of money, we are now the thing that we have just you have just sacrificed is everybody's patience. You better play. We're paying you, play.
And that's why they want to win. That's why they'll solve. My last thing is this, because I thought Calipari, I wish I was able to pull it, but Calipari says something very interesting at the end of their discussion. How do you tell any of these people, 18, 19, 20, 21, whatever, they're making the amount of money they're making in NIL for 2, 3, or 4 years? How do you tell those individuals at the end of all this, you got to go from making $600,000 on an NIL contract to accepting a $50,000 job,
deal,
$60,000 job? What if that kid says no to a $50K job?
Well, then he's going to learn what living in a car feels like. Are they? that's truly the question we're asking when you bring up mental health and you bring up the way we're treating these guys. Do they really give a damn about any cog in this machine? Is it a situation of when one gets too old and ages out, or one breaks and goes away, we'll just find 5 more just like them? They wouldn't be the first entity to not really give a damn about their talent base. So, yeah, I mean, they're not preparing these kids for really, what's, real life is going to be like. Okay, if you're Cooper Flagg, if you're Arch Manning, if you're, Jeremiah Love, Fernando Mendoza, it's a little different because you're going to be going to the pros and you're probably going to have a decent enough career to get a couple of contracts. But for everybody else, yeah, you get this complete inflated sense of self. You are the most important person in the room for 3 or 4 years of your life. And then all of a sudden you graduate and you're an unpaid intern in a medical office and people have trouble remembering your name.
And people tell you no. You got people around you, they're always telling you yes. So, again, I thought that was an interesting conversation because, again, I think both philosophies, you can see it one way or the other. But 18, I understand development, and it's your job as a workplace to develop. But at the end of the day, you're making money off of adults.
Well, yeah, and they are, and you have to treat them like that. And it's like, I think that's why we've spent a lot of time, in the brief amount of time we've been on the air, Total Run, on college sports in general. If it is Trinidad Chambliss and his eligibility, if it's NIL in general, if it's the transfer portal, if it's any of these, the kid playing in college basketball this year that had NBA experience, we're seeing, coaching changes. We had Lane Kiffin in that whole 3-week saga.
Yeah.
We're watching college sports completely change its way of doing everything. If it's, the national champion, which used to be voted on by a bunch of, smoky old sports writers in press boxes 30 years ago, to, moving into a 4-team, into a 12-team, and, what's going to be a 16 and probably 37-team playoff soon. Where, we had guys that were getting suspended in the NCAA 10 years ago for taking a free meal because it was an improper benefit. Now these guys are getting paid millions of dollars in some cases. Back in the day, you had to sit out a year if you wanted to transfer schools. Nowadays, that's gone, and you have a transfer portal, which is basically free agency in college sports for everybody involved.
Mm-hmm.
We are seeing these things completely change. The bowl system's completely changed around. The money involved with everything has exploded. And watching how this is changing and really waiting to see what the end game is going to look like. What is the final version of this? Because right now with 18 or 12-team playoffs and 68-team tournaments, we're in a lot of ways in the beta version of this. We don't have a lot of NIL rules yet. We don't have a lot of transfer rules yet. I know President Trump's trying to sign some executive orders, which I don't think are worth the paper they're printed on. But we're still trying to figure out what the end game is going to look like. I think we can all agree that this way of doing things as of, April 5th and 6th of 2026 is not sustainable. I don't see this working for 10 years. But I'm kind of curious to see where it's going to end up.
Yeah, not providing any guidelines with NIL. Listen, I'll say this: if you're a college athlete right now, this is the best time to be a college athlete while there are basically no rules. Because once rules are put in place, it's over. So this is the best. If you wanted a reason to go to college, on top of all the practical reasons to go to college, work your tail off, get to college, and get paid.
And conversely, if you're a college age listening, it's also a dangerous time because of the lack of the rules. These agents or people that act like agents can get away with a lot more nefarious activity than, say, in the NFL or in the NBA or Major League Baseball. So Yeah, I mean, there's good things to not having rules, but there's also bad things to not having
It's
rules.
the angel and the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Choose wisely.
Well, what I heard a good quote. The unfortunate thing about acting and living outside the law is that you are no longer protected by it. And yeah, everybody's living outside the law because it's lawless, so there's nothing protecting them either. So, yeah, that's why this stuff is going to have to change at some point in time. We just can't let this run ruckshot for another decade and expect that there's going to be actually any competitive balance in college sports at all. All right, I think we've talked our way out of that one here. I think we've gone with that one as far as we can go. This is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We got really one big story that we haven't hit, and this is affecting us locally here in Cleveland, and also, about a dozen more NBA markets, a bunch of hockey markets, MLB markets, FanDuel Network, the I guess part of the twitching corpse of the old regional sports system network. The old Fox Sports, the old Sports Time Ohio in another incarnation, those kind of networks. The last remaining vestiges of those, FanDuel, will be ceasing operations on April 12th. Why April 12th? That's when the NBA regular season ceases operations. So, long story short, the Cavaliers and about, 13 other NBA teams and a whole lot of other major league teams are going to be looking for streaming homes and TV homes coming up next season.
So, number one, if you're a subscriber to FanDuel Sports, make sure you cancel.
Oh, yeah, because those motherfuckers will charge you. That's the one part of that company that won't shut down.
They will still charge. So, right now, keep watching us. Cancel. It will go. I promise it'll go. If you time it out right, it'll go to the end of the cycle. And if somehow, some way, if you have a couple games left, if the cycle ends,
if you have a couple games left, it's the Hawks and the fucking Wizards.
You don't need to watch that, okay?
WTAM 1100, Tim Alcorn, WMMS, they do a great job.
Yeah, they'll take Alcorn and Jim Jones. They'll take care of you on the radio
Especially
side.
For the price that you won't be paying for an extra month of FanDuel.
You'll be fine if you don't have to watch the Wizards. They'll tank anyway. I'm sure the Cavs will win that game by 40. It's
bad enough. If you want to go bad enough, just get some tickets.
Yeah, get tickets and go to the game.
Fan appreciation night.
Okay, so I don't want to get that out of the way. Make sure you cancel that. Yeah, this goes to show you that this model is not sustainable. It's one of the many things that COVID and the pandemic essentially killed. And Diamond Sports, Main Street, Valley, FanDuel, all that mix. When they acquired these networks from Fox Sports, they were already in debt and they didn't have a plan to get out of it. And now, and you know this, Rob, like a lot of people, where they are they're cutting the cord trying to figure out what they want to watch. There are people who are not sports fans. So they're not getting away anymore with just sticking these networks on the regular cable lineup because a lot of people don't have cable anymore.
No.
So it just didn't make any sense. And it's unfortunate, too, because even from a business standpoint, and we saw it with the Guardians, when these networks miss payments, that's less money for these teams to be able to spend on potential free agents. And the Guardians kind of learned that the hard way with FanDuel, Bally's, and the Cavaliers are getting that harsh lesson.
Well, and the one thing, and another common theme, we mentioned college sports, that we've been talking about for years, it seems like, is how the TV money is the lifeblood of these leagues at this point. It's the, TV money that lets the NBA max salary approach $80 million per year. It's the TV money that lets the quarterbacks in the NFL get paid $60 to $65 million per year. Baseball, $60, $70 million per year. That's what is doing it, is the TV money. And if that TV money goes away, if that if that revenue stream either dries up or just reduces flow, that could be a lot of problems. And conversely, and I don't know if there's it's in the same ballpark if we're talking broadcasting news. The NFL, despite the fact that there is no clause in the contract to renegotiate with their cable or with their TV partners right now, they're trying to do the same. They're trying to get more money from the Foxes and the CBSs and the Amazons of the world, with basically saying, hey, I believe the deal is that they have an option in like 2 or 3 years. I want to say it's like 28 or 29.
29.
And what they're saying right now is, if you just pay us more money now, we'll forget about that option period in a couple of years. And you got folks like the PGA and some of these ancillary sports saying, hey, if the NFL keeps taking this money, there's going to be no other money to have. And if that's the NBA, if that's Major League Baseball, which is gaining popularity right now, if the TV money isn't there, then these player contracts that we're used to, 10 straight years it seems like, all of these average salaries have been going up. That's not going to happen anymore. And the NBA, the Major League Baseball, even the NHL, all have to figure out what the NFL figured out. And that's a way to kind of consolidate the TV rights and make sure that your asses are covered when it comes down to, are these networks even going to be around?
It's amazing, man. We had it made, especially with the Sports Time Ohio days. We had it made because you had the Guardian, the Indians baseball games. You had Bruce Drennan. I love it, Cleveland.
Yeah, you had Uncle Brucey.
You had Chuck Galletti late at night. Like, you had it made, and then these networks, they did a great job. And Rock Entertainment Sports Network, we had a relationship. We still have a relationship with Rock Entertainment with our high school football CBC TV coverage. They're trying, with local stuff, but the money, it's just, you got to get that money flowing and coming in. And the only way is, you might be right, of these rights being centralized. And that's why it's amazing to look at like Major League Baseball with Guardians. 2 years ago, I think the Diamondbacks and the Padres were the first two teams to break away from Bally Sports and go to
Major League. Bally broke away from them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And go to MLB Network and Major League Baseball. That number of 2 became 6, with the Guardians being one of the teams. And now this season, 14 teams have their games produced by Major League Baseball.
Yeah, and it's kind of a sad state of affairs right now, and it seems like, obviously we can still get the games. You and I both watched them today, but they just get harder and harder to find. And it seems like no matter what happens, if it is network fighting league fighting network, even with the labor stoppage, league fighting players. No matter who's fighting who, the same group always loses, and it's going to be the fans. And with these networks going away, with the consolidation kind of happening, there's really no circumstance where the fans are going to be paying less money to get these games. And you want to talk about the good old days. I miss back, the trade-off was that we didn't get every game, but the games were for free. The games were on Channel 43. The games were on local cable television, or local broadcast television, where all you needed was some bunny ears, and they gave away the product. The idea back in the day was, we'll give away the product, we'll sell advertising time, we'll make money off that, and then along with ticket sales, memorabilia, whatever here, we'll just do it. With that paradigm shift of about 10 Sunday Ticket kind of screwed everything on that. Was then when they realized, no, we can just sell the content. And that's what it is. It's, in a lot of cases, it's not sports anymore. It's just content. And now we're just, shilling it out. And it seems like no matter what happens, we pay more money.
And full transparency, too, what makes this topic a bit tough. Like, we know people who works at these networks and like, and how, and we're not giving away names or anything like that, but how many discussions have we heard over the years where, like, man, we don't know what's happening. It's just as long as the check clears and people can see the games. Like, it gets more and more tricky because, again, you don't want people losing jobs either. But that's part of it. It's like you're seeing programming get cut over time. Like, it was almost a guarantee that we had a 30-minute pregame show before every game, a 30-minute postgame show after every game. And now it's restricted to like just home games. Certain talent can't travel on the road, like more people have to do more stuff on road games than home games.
And and that's part of the RSNs going away. That's part of with mergers and stuff like that. We're seeing ESPN and NFL Network now become basically one entity. Rich Eisen is now an ESPN employee again. I don't think he ever thought that was going to happen. And what that means, though, is, why all these corporate folks like mergers is because, well, you got Company A and Company B, each have an HR director. Do we really need two HR directors anymore? We can get rid of one and have the same person do the same job for half the money. And, I think I heard reports that, after the touching moment with his son, Dan Orlovsky is figuring out that, with the NFL merger, they might not need his services too much longer over at the mothership. So, I mean, why, you have X amount of analysts, you can do it X divided by in half. Why do you need that stuff? So, any kind of merger, any kind of consolidation, we're seeing this stuff go away. And we're starting to see it happen. And again, I don't want to get too specific, but we're starting to see it happen with, quality. We're starting to see with more mistakes being made. We're starting to see, with research, not being done, or you can tell technically they could use a couple more hands, and it's nothing against the people working. They're doing the best they can. We've worked with people who've lost jobs while still trying their best. It was just because there wasn't enough people around to make sure everything was going great. And it was nobody's fault, but it was everybody's fault.
Yeah.
So, it's not a fun spot to be in. And again, really obviously, the people who are losing jobs are losing, but the larger group of people are the consumers, are the people that pay money to watch this stuff, are the people that, that spend time in, the most valuable thing ever is free time in this world. And the people who spend that free time on this stuff are the ones suffering. And
they know that live sports is the one thing that people have to spend money on. They know, like, unlike Netflix, unlike other, Amazon Prime, whatever else, there are no reruns with live sports. There is no such thing as, I'll catch up on what happened. Like, you have to watch the Guardians and Cavs and NBA, and then you have to watch that stuff live. But if you miss it live, that's it.
And that's it. And if you miss it live too many times, you figure out something else to do with your day, and you're not spending any money on the NFL, on the NBA, on Major League Baseball. I can speak to wrestling with that. The WWE in my mind, in the way that I, am used to consuming this kind of stuff, has not lived up to their end of the bargain. And they've done that enough times where I will, click on the 90-second Danhausen promo and go about my day.
You were so proud of that Danhausen thing.
I like Danhausen and R-Truth. Those are, and it's weird. The two comedy guys are the ones I like. No, if you get a chance, it's on YouTube. If you're a Conan fan, he does this thing where he talks to fans every now and again. And he was talking to this kid named Donovan. And Donovan was explaining that he's a wrestler, and his character was based on what if Conan O'Brien was an interdimensional demon. And Donovan Danhausen took that character and ran with it. So Conan O'Brien was the one who discovered Mr. Danhausen before really anybody else of note knew who the fuck he was. So
boy,
neither Danhausen or R-Truth. I don't have time for a lot of the other stuff, but
boy,
but
if
that's
TKO could have called anybody, maybe they should have called Conan instead.
everybody likes Conan. But yeah, I mean, but that's what happened with me in wrestling. That I've talked to people where that's what happened to them in basketball, in baseball, in football. It's either players are acting badly and they just lose patience. It costs too much money. They can't find the games. It's just too much of a hassle. And sooner than later, anybody, no matter how much you love something, if it just becomes too big of a pain to deal with, you're going to figure out something else to do. And sooner than later, it's and I don't want to sound pessimistic, but it's going to happen where this money starts going down. We're starting to see it now with the RSNs. I think the gambling companies have put a Band-Aid on it. I think they've kind of given them a stay of execution for a few more years with some extra funds. But sooner than later, like how many years has the highest paid player in the league gone up? Has in any league. Mm-hmm. It has the average salary gone up. Has team evaluations gone up. Law of large numbers, reality, common sense says it is going to go down at some point in time. It is either the economy is going to tank out, either society is going to evolve, something new is going to come into play. The money's going to go away, or not, maybe not go away, but not go up every year. And I don't think any of these sports entities, if it's the NCAA, if it's Major League Baseball, especially the NFL, I don't think the NFL right now is built to take a loss and built to shrink for a year or two. So, these RSNs might be part of it and might be the first bit of it, but I wouldn't be surprised if other sectors in this stuff start having problems.
Well, it's cost of living. Ultimately, cost of living has continued to go up and up and up. And you got young adults that are breaking, adulthood. And you got to make decisions. I'll say this personally. All right, cool. We're doing the Inside Edge Network. We got, Main Event. We got other shows. So I have to keep up with the Guardians. I have to keep up with the Cavs. I have to keep up with certain other things. So, okay, I can't just fork over $80 for YouTube TV. I have to be selective in terms of what I'm spending.
Oh yeah, I haven't had any of the Cavs games in house all year, unless it's on Peacock or Amazon. But the NBA TV games, that was an expense that we deemed not necessary. Now the Guardians, me and Nikki like baseball a little bit more than basketball, so the Guardians, that was fine.
So for me, the Guardians. And I have the Cavs as well. But it's offsetting, right? So it's $20 for the Cavs, but I didn't spend $20 on any Guardians spring training games. But now that we're in season, $20 for the Guardians, FanDuel's done. But then I also have to pay $10 for Netflix for Monday Night Raw. I have an antenna for the CW for NXT, and then a few other things. But cable, that's out of the question legally. That's out of the question.
As far as any government entity knows, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But and I don't want to sound completely doom and gloom. I guess the one nice thing though, comparatively, was 20 years ago. We're bitching about not being able to get games in the Pac-12 or games on the West Coast. 20 years ago, we couldn't get those at all.
Yeah, they were regional.
Now at least everything is out there to be had. We talk about the good old days when the games were on, the Channel 43. It was only about 3/4 of the games. You weren't getting anything out of market. You didn't have the option to buy anything out of market. You got what you got, and you hoped that maybe Herb Score was doing the other 25 games that you weren't getting on TV. So it has gotten better, but the thing is maybe while it's gotten better and bigger, it's also gotten more convoluted and more expensive.
Yeah, I could spend all day. I know we got to move. I could spend all day telling you about, my grandfather he knew the entire Cleveland Indians schedule. He knew the entire schedule. He knew when it was a radio-only game because he would go to the kitchen. He had a radio, usually his happy hour or lunch, and he put the radio down. He listened to the game in the kitchen. I think the last instance, I don't know if you remember this, 2013, the Indians were pushing to get to the playoffs, and they had a critical afternoon game, I believe, against Tampa at the beginning of September that was not scheduled for TV. It was a radio-only broadcast. And at that point, social media is up and running, and it's not as toxic as it is now, but it was up and running, and enough fans complained, we can't see the game. This is a critical matchup for playoff positioning. That was the last time a Guardians game did not air on television at all.
Yeah. And I remember, it was a common thing when I was growing up where, you mentioned it with your grandfather, everybody had the drill for the radio-only game because it happened anywhere between, depending on the year, 20 and 40 times a season. A lot of times it was, Sunday day games aren't going to be aired on TV or whatever. But so, yeah, I mean, things have changed in a lot of ways for the better. I don't want to sound like it's a horrible time right now to be like, right now is unequivocally the best time to be doing this stuff because we can, 20 years ago, we couldn't be doing this show technologically. 10 years ago, we probably couldn't be doing this show technologically. So, it is, we can see a lot more stuff. We can do a lot more stuff. So it is
and
better.
Use your phone.
We still
and use your phone. Yeah.
Yeah. We still haven't figured shit out completely. And I don't know. Ultimately, we're going to, we make fun of the billionaires and judge them because all they're money-grubbing assholes and all they want to do is take our money. But us as fans, we're not going to be truly happy unless they just give us this shit for free.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you want to take a look at it, it's a yin and yang thing. It's two sides of the same coin. But this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rob Rozycki. We got AA Anthony Alford. And Eli Moon is on location right now. I believe he is summiting Everest at this point. But yeah, he'll be back, assuming the Sherpa finds his way. He'll be back on Sunday. And yes, we'll be at Greenie Sports Car Show on Independence. So it'll be a good time for everybody. We do have a few more minutes left. And thank you to those who have stuck with us the whole way here. We got a few more minutes to figure out what we have learned in this 7-day span of paying attention to sports. AA, would you like to lead off, or do you want me to start this thing off?
I'll lead off. I'm going to compliment a team that I don't like in Michigan. I hate this, but I support it. The Fab Five had a alternate broadcast during the Final Four.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. I saw that though. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like all those guys. And look, I know Chris Webber and Jalen Rose. I know C-Web had a few issues with the Fab Five over the years because of what happened with the timeouts and all that stuff. But I support strong school alumni. If you're able to, I think it's pretty cool if you're able to lock in and support teams and support like future programs and stuff like that. It's very annoying because Chris Webber blurted and said Ohio State sucks. All right, you could shove it. But school support like that does matter. It really does. And hopefully we can get something like that across the board. One other thing I learned too, do not mess with Don Staley. Don't do it. Don't do it. I promise it won't end well. It will not end well.
It's funny. We're like, there's a lot of judgment with female coaches, maybe going to the NBA and doing their thing. And everyone's like, with most of them, they're like, yeah, I don't know if that'll translate over in the NBA. And then they mentioned Dawn Staley, like, she will cut a bitch.
Yes.
Like, so you'll have a 7'4", center scared as shit of that little pit bull in the corner that will rip your head off.
Yes. So you may have not watched a lick of the NCAA women's tournament. But by the way, congrats to UCLA. They won the national championship this afternoon. But I don't know if it was a pregame handshake that wasn't to the liking of Gino's liking, because a pregame handshake did happen. But, man, there were fighting words after the game. During a nonchalant handshake, there were words exchanged. And then you got Don Staley, thank goodness for cameras, looking at her staff and saying, and I quote, "I will beat Gino's ass. I will beat Gino's ass."
And I don't think
I will beat his ass.
She was joking.
There was no joking. I think that promo alone, I kind of want to see Don Staley and Gino face off at WrestleMania. It's probably a better built story than.
Well, as long as Gino has Dan Hurley in his corner talking for him, UConn is becoming the oasis for douchebag coaches right now, and I kind of like it.
And the problem is UConn is winning.
They win.
They win all the time.
Mm-hmm. And I think Hurley will figure out something that another New england coaching legend figured out a few years ago, is that when the winning stops, so does the admiration. Back to your point with the alumni, I think it is a dumb thing for any team, any program, college or pro, to not embrace the alumni, to not embrace the former players. And even into the pros, where the Lions were fighting with Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders for a long time. Pittsburgh and Ben Roethlisberger has had a rocky relationship. Some teams just blanket don't bring guys in. I know the Lerner Browns seem to have a lot of issues with alumni, be it Bernie Kosar, be it Jim Brown. They didn't really embrace the tradition of the franchise. And I can't think of one fan who doesn't enjoy the tradition, who doesn't enjoy the history of whatever team they're rooting for, college or pro. And I've never, we even see it in wrestling all the time. Some of the biggest shows are legend shows. We like it when Stone Cold comes back, or John Cena. We like Old Timers Day at Yankee Stadium. Those are things that is a great thing for, and any team that thinks that they're above that shows more about who they are as an organization than really any other action, and it's not a good thing.
You notice across high school sports, college athletics, the head coaches and the coaching staffs and the organizations that embrace their alumni, those are the ones that are the most successful. Those are the ones typically better grassroots effort as far as fundraising, more involvement and things like that. I mean, I've seen time and time again, even at the high school level, how many coaches, reach out to their alumni to say, get the neighborhood involved. And all of a sudden you have youth programs learning their playbook, for the varsity level, like 6, 7, 8 years old. And they know all the plays by the time they get to freshman year of high school.
We saw an extreme example of it in the national title football game with the losing team. Look at the U. I mean, the U started to make that run, and I'm not saying they're fair weather guys. They're never around. But when they started making that playoff run, all the ghosts in the U started showing back up. You started seeing Ed Reed. You started seeing Ray Lewis. You started seeing, what Michael Irvin was around for, the whole way. And they actually had a delicate game to play for the national title game itself, because it was in Miami. The ticket demand was so through the roof, and you had every Miami Hurricane alumni wanting tickets. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like, Gino Toretto, you won a Heisman, so come on. Ken Dorsey, well, you got an Addy, come on. That kind of stuff. So they all had, and they had to play that game because you don't want alumni players out there chirping about, well, I guess they forgot about me. I guess, that's how they treat alumni out here, because the current players hear that. So, yeah, there's a lot of reasons just to embrace the tradition, for sure. But this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. What I have learned, and I try to, I relearn it every year. We are sitting here at the top of April in silly season of the NFL. We're about 17 days away from the draft. I think we're about 2.5 weeks away from the draft, and the combine has happened. Pro days have happened. Interviews have happened. All of the pre-draft work has happened. The only problem is that we still have 2.5 more weeks of airtime to fill with no actual news happening. That's how we get. Does Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders have a better chance of being quarterback for the Browns? What is Deshaun Watson even doing with the Browns right now? We get Ty Simpson. Can he go number 5 or 6 overall? Despite the fact that he's had 13 college starts. We are getting guys that are just either talking to hear themselves speak, or in a game that I know very, very well, a game called Get It to the Bottom of the Hour. And that is fill the show up until you don't have to fill any longer, and you can all go home and think about other things. So between the hot take artists and the guys who are just trying to punch the time card, we are getting a lot of weird news. We are getting a lot of people trying to buck conventional wisdom. We have to remember why conventional wisdom with a lot of this stuff is in fact conventional wisdom. Because it's been right for 9 months. Because we've seen it with our own eyes for 9 months. We saw Roberto Mendoza win the national title game. Or Fernando Mendoza win the national title game. We don't need Dan Orlovsky saying what big game has he played in. We can go to political networks to find that kind of news and hot takey stuff convincing us that we didn't see what we saw. We don't need to take it to sports. And again, I understand. You're trying to fill the time. You're trying to do your job. And we're pretty honest with you too. When we start doing shows, especially when we start getting into the summer, yes, we will make jokes about how, we are in Mount Rushmore season. We are in random bracket season. I am sure we will get our top 5 everything.
Get ready for the
entire
list.
Month of July.
Yes, get ready.
I understand that there is a game to be played. But you, as a listener, and this is why we haven't talked a lot of draft today, you as a listener has to understand too that a lot of this shit, especially with the NFL, you have to take with a grain of salt. You really, really do. And if you are confused, if you're wondering what your team is going to be doing, Browns or otherwise, just think back to during the combine a couple months ago, end of the season. What was the reality back then? Because I'll guarantee you there's a pretty good chance that reality is the same thing it is now.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. And we have a show here on the network, Commissioner's Couch Podcast, and they cut through the BS as actual football breakdowns of the rookie class. But so if you're not going there, you're not going to our other shows. Forget about it.
I mean, I'm not saying that there's no bad, there's no good draft analysis right now. There's a couple hundred names in play. There's a bunch of different ways these teams can go. And learning these guys is going to make you help learn the league a lot better. So, there are a lot of people out there that can truly help you along the way. And many of them work for the Inside Edge Network. But a lot of this stuff just take with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm. You're 100% right, though. Like, you got – and here's the other thing, too, like to the Dan Orlovsky thing. And I don't even dislike Dan Orlovsky. I think he does a good job at ESPN. He works hard. But if you're going to put a take – and we know this from experience. If you're going to put something out on the air, you're going to say something, be ready to back up what you're saying. Be ready.
And no matter what you say, be ready for someone to call you an idiot.
Yes.
And that's just so. If you are going to play the game, you better know the rules. That's the other thing too. And I know it's fun to do the mock drafts. It's fun to do the what ifs, and my favorite are the all trade mock drafts because those have any basis in reality. But it's fun. I understand that. But at the same time, don't think of it as etched in stone, Ty Simpson, number 1 pick overall, No, that's not going to be the case.
One little detail about the NFL draft that is changing this year. The time between picks in round one is only 8 minutes this year.
Okay.
It used to be actually, Rob, you know this. It used to be 15.
Yeah. Well, when it started at noon, we didn't care if it went 4 hours.
Yeah.
Now when it starts at 8 o'clock and it goes 4 hours, Colbert gets pissed off.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, and honestly now too, I can see the time in a lot of ways going down because information technology is a lot easier. Communication is a lot easier. You're not, picking up the corded phone that's on your draft desk, that's the helmet, Sports Illustrated style, and calling in the pick. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and plus, too, with the way these guys are prepared, they know what they're going to do 2 picks in advance. Like they have 2 picks out, they got the 3 guys. The top guy on the list is going to go. So, okay, cool.
Yeah, Las Vegas does not need the full 8 minutes to determine them drafting Mendoza. Like that's.
I think that's a rule that needs to go away. I think the team on the number 1 overall pick shouldn't get any time.
Yeah,
they've had 3 months.
Yeah. Make your pick. What? Are you going to wait until draft time for a team to call for a trade proposal?
Yeah.
Come on.
What, you think the Jets are just waiting for that proposal to call in at 8:05? Yeah, I don't know.
Like the draft should start. Like when Roger Goodell comes out, and, you do the national anthem. Hey, welcome to the NFL draft. All right, the draft is underway with the Las Vegas Raiders selecting Fernando Mendoza. Mm-hmm. That's how the draft should start.
Yes. But, hey, and I talk about how things change, and I heard Dan Patrick talk about this, how Mel Kiper needs to have some honest-to-God consideration as a contributor in the NFL Hall of Fame because he was the guy in the early 80s looking at ESPN saying, no, you really want to televise this. This can work. And nobody thought that was possible. Draft analysis wasn't even a thing until roughly, about 2000. And it has birthed an entire industry. It has birthed a brand new way of looking at the game. And Mel Kiper Jr. was, love him or hate him, was at the epicenter of it.
Last thing for you, Rob, before we wrap. I got to get your quick thoughts on this. Dan Patrick, he's retiring after the Atlanta Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll take the show.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry. What were you going to ask?
Yeah. So, Mad Dog, Chris Russo, went on his show. They are going to do a home and home, one show each of them partnering up with each other.
I'm on board with that.
It's going to be Dan Patrick. Yeah, Dan Patrick and Mad Dog on the Dan Patrick show, and then they're going to do the same thing on Sirius XM.
Yeah, well, they've been doing. They've been doing a Dan and Dan thing a couple of times. Levitard and Patrick. They've been kind of doing the same little thing. Yeah, I'm all for it, dude. I have no idea when we're worried about broadcasters in advanced years, losing a step or two. We have one of the greatest hairdos in radio, who is slamming edibles while gambling profusely on games, and that dude is still sharper than the most lethal samurai sword out there. And I will continue to watch him for as long as he wants to be watched.
I think they're both fantastic.
I will probably ask off my whatever job I have when Dan Patrick retires. That will be an honest to God long ass chapter of my life closing. That it started in 1997 when I got my driver's license and I found out that ESPN had a radio station.
That's amazing, man. This is just amazing. It all starts with radio. Mad Dog, I think, is a brilliant sportscaster. I really do.
And he's the only hot take art. I call him a hot. I don't mind him or Nick Wright, but he's so over the top and crazy and nuts. But it works.
It's entertaining.
Completely dead on. Because he's him. He's not trying to be anybody.
It's entertaining. He's so over the top. It's all ridiculous. And it's funny, half the time he's high while he's doing it.
Yeah, but it's genuine. It's he's not just screaming to scream while mulling for presidential runs and saying that he could beat every Democrat and then just kind of retreating back to wherever he was on the internet. Like, yeah, he's authentic. So I'll watch any bit with Mad Dog. Dan Patrick is the standard. He has been the standard. He will be the standard after he retires. So, yeah, I'll watch that for sure.
We don't have enough time to get into Stephen A. Smith. I have so many thoughts.
Why were you talking Stephen A. Smith?
Take us home, buddy.
All right. Well, for everybody here in studio and for the one person not in studio, for Eli Moon, wherever you are, we love you. But for Anthony Alford, I am Rob Rozycki. This has been the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. If you stuck around all 3 hours, thank you very much. If you stuck around for 10 minutes, thank you still. We could not do this without you. And remember, check the QR code for Fanatics right above my shoulder there, and you can get some deals there on everything that you're wearing and being a part of your team and just representing how you represent. But yes, for everybody here in the main event for AA Anthony Alford, I am Rob Rozycki. We will see you next week.